I ain't posting too often, but I'm trying to run the map from LA out to Boston. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. Call me Captain, always gotta look for him. Beat so tight, I almost put a hook on it. Verse so fire, I almost put a cook on it. Had this shit jumping, looking like I put a foot on it. Got 100 on the dash when I book Sonic. Only game that I play, got a rook on it. Got a flow so hard that it looks solid. Y'all be cynical, pitiful, read a book, college. Running the day with punting like Weezy, your baby stunting to Satan. I'm paying nothing to sofa like David Ruffin. All these niggas gossip about, get why they hating them. I ain't singing to these bitches, I leave that shit to Drake and them. Pull up in the all black, but I never was saving them. I was probably just slaying them, nigga barely was dating them. I could do this till I'm 50 cause I rap with the cars. You gon' quit it when you 30 cause you rap in the cars. Swear your shit up a song. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been rolling dolo on them, I don't need me no Robin, so I be running through paper that be thick but no robbing. Man, I grew up in the city where them niggas be robbing. I ain't stressing, I ain't messing with a bird like a robin. Man, these niggas acting reckless, I approach it with caution. Finessing how I move but go harder than Robin. Even at the bottom, I reach up for the top, man. This is how you elevate from worker to the boss, man. I ain't Mike Posner, I ain't posting too often, but I'm trying to run the map from LA out to Boston. Relationship goes, what the hell is she talking? I'm just trying to bang go something like Andy Dalton. Niggas say they ballin', well how much did it cost? And I ain't talking LA, but these niggas be dodging. Looking for the competition, feeling like I done lost them. Cause it's murder that I wrote, caught a coroner's chalk and don't get lost in the sauce, fam. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. 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 I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. Call me Captain, always gotta look for him. Beat so tight, I almost put a hook on it. Verse so fire, I almost put a cook on it. Had this shit jumping, looking like I put a foot on it. Got 100 on the dash when I book Sonic. Only game that I play, got a rook on it. Got a flow so hard that it looks solid. Y'all be cynical, pitiful, read a book, college. Running the day with punting like Weezy, your baby stunting to Satan. I'm paying nothing to sofa like David Ruffin. All these niggas gossip about, get why they hating them. I ain't singing to these bitches, I leave that shit to Drake and them. Pull up in the all black, but I never was saving them. I was probably just slaying them, nigga barely was dating them. I could do this till I'm 50 cause I rap with the cars. You gon' quit it when you 30 cause you rap in the cars. Swear your shit up a song. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been rolling dolo on them, I don't need me no Robin, so I be running through paper that be thick but no robbing. Man, I grew up in the city where them niggas be robbing. I ain't stressing, I ain't messing with a bird like a robin. Man, these niggas acting reckless, I approach it with caution. Finessing how I move but go harder than Robin. Even at the bottom, I reach up for the top, man. This is how you elevate from worker to the boss, man. I ain't Mike Posner, I ain't posting too often, but I'm trying to run the map from LA out to Boston. Relationship goes, what the hell is she talking? I'm just trying to bang go something like Andy Dalton. Niggas say they ballin', well how much did it cost? And I ain't talking LA, but these niggas be dodging. Looking for the competition, feeling like I done lost them. Cause it's murder that I wrote, caught a coroner's chalk and don't get lost in the sauce, fam. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to eat up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman. I've been killing all these suckers where they at, man. Seeing through your cat, cause my vision is a CAT scan. Trying to get up in the game like I'm Pac-Man, so I'm blacking out on the track like I'm Batman.
We are back after some technical difficulties. Welcome everyone to the stream. It is draft night. We are so excited to be here with you. Got quite a packed, draft room, if you will, with us. We got Brian and Zach from Dizzle Dynasty, as well as Noah Rubin joining myself and Andrew tonight. Boys, there's been some trades. I guess maybe not leading up to the draft. I think we're waiting for a few more. But within the last 24 hours, been some really exciting moves happening. And I think the best move right now, before we start jumping into some of this draft stuff, is really to dive deep into, what's been happening. So I think first we can start with this Trae Young contract. I know there was some really polarizing opinions. Some people who felt one way about something or about the contract, and then some that felt the other. But I would love to hear what you guys think, just because we're the basketball is in the air, right? So Noah, I'll start with you. I really want to hear what your thoughts were about Trae Young and what the Wizards are doing moving forward.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. It's going to be a lot of fun going through this draft, which should have a lot of surprising things for us to react to, so it'll be fun. But the contract, it's really interesting when the team that drafts a player trades him for no draft capital, CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. And then that star gets a 4-year, $212 million extension. It just seems like a lot. Player option on the last year. It just seems like at the time it was like, okay, hey, buying low on a former All-NBA guard that's an all-star offensive talent who's kind of regressed a little bit, but you're buying low. It makes sense. And it makes sense with where they're trying to go with their team. But now it's like you're committing a lot. And if the immediate argument is, yeah, but who else were they going to pay? It's almost thinking like, well, they have all these millions of dollars. Let's just give it to this guy, I guess. Like, I don't know. I feel like that argument is, one, kind of disrespectful to him as a talent, and two, just like doesn't really make sense for them as a team having that flexibility. So I think he will be a good player for the next 4 years. Is he going to live up to that contract? No. And I think by the end of it, when you're paying him whatever it'll be, like $58 million that final season when he's in his 30s as a small guard, I think it's going to be kind of tough to ever trade him, which kind of made sense at the time. It's like you're buying low to potentially sell high later after he plays better. But I can't buy into maybe other teams were looking to pay him that much, because that kind of seems silly, because if they were, they probably would have made a little bit more of a competitive offer for Trae Young when he was available for a trade. So I don't love that process from Washington, but I really like what they've done over the past couple of years, just process-wise. So maybe they'll be able to make up for it in other ways.
Sure. I can't say I disagree with your with your take there. And before I toss it to both you guys over at Dizzle, I just want everybody to know we are going to have the chat up on the screen. So if you guys, once I can get that working, that is, if you guys have questions or want to chime in at any point, feel free, and we'll feel free to hang out with us, right? So, but next, I think I want to jump to let's go to Zach. Zach, what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on what Noah was saying there, or do you agree? Do you disagree?
Yeah, I'm right with it. He's still a good player. Certainly the contract. I think I'll point out that Jalen Brunson in his age 31 season will be making $40 million. Trae Young will be making 58. I'm just saying. They were always going to spend some money on Trae Young. I think from the jump they were just going to have to pay him. He had the leverage really just in that regard, and you got to spend the money somehow. I am kind of worried for when it does get to that point, especially with that player option. Like, the player option is crazy. That's a lot of money. But yeah, I mean, they were always going to pay him. It makes sense, and he'll be a good player. He'll be a good mainstay for the next couple of years as they hope to be competitive or mid, which is kind of what they would want in a good pick. So yeah, he'll serve his purpose certainly.
Yeah, it's
go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, it's probably 15 million AAV over where he should be getting. Isn't that crazy? And again, who could they have paid? Who are they bidding against?
I think it's just
Chicago wasn't going to do it.
Mm.
It's insane. And like even if this was like 2-year 110, make it 55 the next 2 seasons. Okay, that's still not great. That's better than 4 years of this. Like what? Now all their young guys, all of them, they're gonna get paid at some point. Trae Young will still be on that $50 million deal.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, to trade some of these young guys to get off Trae Young, or just to move them because they can't afford them.
You know, I think I kind of like how they staggered the contracts, right? So they've got this 4-year deal essentially for Trae Young, and then they've got these rookie deals that towards the end of it will be coming due. As I have the chat massive on the screen, I'll work on fixing that. But Andrew, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and then I guess as we hit 8 o'clock, I'd love to hear where you want to take us next.
All right, very good. So for the Trae Young deal, like I guess I did, some people who think it might work out on the court, like some of their length and versatility of a lot of these Wizards players help make up for a lot of the shortcomings that Trae Young has. Do I agree that it's still probably a little overpriced? I do think so, but given where they're at and in their rebuild and everything, I think it could at least work out in regards to the on-court product at this time. But if it ends up not working out, then they're in a really tough situation because we all obviously have a little bit of concern with the AAV of this contract. So we'll see how this ends up going. I do still have a fair amount of excitement for the Wizards, especially if they take who I expect them to take with the number 1 pick, which I think we all mostly think it's going to be Debanza, and I think he's another great fit for what they need right now. Especially because he as well has complementary size and length to make up for shortcomings that Trae Young has specifically. So now that we have hit 1 minute past 5 o'clock, this is the official time we did announce that the stream was going to be beginning. So if you are just now joining us, welcome to our live broadcast of the Angle Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, joined by Braxton, also from Angle. We have Brian and Zach from Dizzle Dynasty today. Noah Rubin is with us today as well. We are going to be on the stream will be up throughout the entirety of the first round. So grab a beer, pull up your Dynasty roster because we'll be reacting to picks. We'll be giving our instant Dynasty thoughts as to what will happen both with picks and trades today because we obviously expect there to be a couple of trades going down. And another exciting part is that each of the 5 guys in this stream, we all have a first round pick from our favorite team. So Braxton and Noah, you guys, your team, the Hornets for Braxton, the Hawks for Noah, you guys have 2 picks each. Brian's team, the Jazz, has the number 2 pick. We're going to come back to that one. That's a very important one. And then later on today that's where Zach and I come in. My Lakers are at 25 and Zach's Cavaliers are at 29. But we, of course, love, we play Deep League Dynasty. So we love these guys in the 20s, 30s, 40s, because they bring a lot of value to us in those types of rosters as well. But the Utah Jazz are in a pretty great position, I would say, getting one of probably Boozer or Darren Peterson, because we have so far have seen Debanza expected to go first. Perhaps it gets turned on its head, but that's what most of it has been said, and he seems to be the best fit. So, Brian, maybe just outside of Dynasty right now, for you as a Jazz fan, who would you like to see them take it to?
As a Jazz fan and as someone who sees a lot of Jazz Twitter, this is Darren Peterson, and they shouldn't overthink it. Even though I have Darren Peterson at 3 on my personal board, this fit is just too good. And the way that Will Hardy's going to be able to utilize him, especially with his potential playmaking abilities, which we did not see at Kansas, but I think it's there. Plus, you have Keontae George, Larry Markkinen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Walker Kessler. Like, DP might actually end up being the go-to guy in the clutch. He's really good at that. He's super explosive. The Jazz had Donovan Mitchell. Now they might be getting Donovan Mitchell plus 5 inches and stronger. Like, I just think this is an absolute no-brainer here for the Jazz. Even though Boozer there's a real argument here, but it also would involve trading multiple players in order to get this to work, like, long-term. And maybe it does work long-term. Like, maybe they would have to trade Lowry even if they had Darren Peterson. But at the end of the day, I think Peterson, when healthy, looks like the number one prospect. And I'm not as worried about the full body cramping or whatever else is going on. I think he'll be just fine. Between the top three, he was the one consistently every year getting better, working on his game. Again, improvement is not linear, but with Peterson up to this point, up until that final year in Kansas, it basically was. So I would just bank on Will Hardy being able to weaponize him and potentially having the next Anthony Edwards level prospects at the shooting guard position in the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes the most sense. Utah has a lot of front court depth already. Another very versatile, especially high, elite level scoring option. Seems like the best fit for them. So that's what I'm thinking. We're all probably hoping that that's who they're going to take. We just saw Adam Silver. I just saw Adam Silver come out and officially put the Wizards on the clock. So they got 5 minutes left here. They probably expect all of that to go through. And so we will keep our eye on that. Now, we can talk a little bit about this Giannis trade that happened today. Let's go to you first, Braxton. I want you to talk about if you feel there's some sort of impact on Ryan Rollins, because I know you're a big fan of him. And then we're going to get into, obviously, the rest of the players involved in this deal.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for Ryan Rollins. I think it goes without saying there's a ton of usage leaving with Giannis and Bobby Portis, and then obviously Hero and Jaquez coming in is going to soak up some of that, right? But to me, with the Bucks, pivoting towards that rebuild, Rollins is in that prime age range to be like their point guard of the future, right? I think part of it is, is Hero going to be their point guard, or is he going to be a shooting guard, right? But with Ryan Rollins has shown enough, and we can talk about maybe Kevin Porter Jr. in a second, right? But I think Ryan Rollins has shown enough to demonstrate that he is the point guard for this Milwaukee Bucks team. And I honestly, I don't think, I know there's a few players coming in, and I know they have age on their side, right? But I don't think it's going to be, I'm not concerned as a Ryan Rollins owner, I guess, very high level to put it.
Got it. Very good.
Kevin Porter Jr., on the other hand, I still think is I was just going to say, I think he's a bad basketball player and might be an okay tank commander, but I don't think he has a future on this Bucks team.
Right. I do agree with that. And he isn't, tied to them really right now anyways. But let's go to Noah. What's your thoughts about the fit with Giannis and Bam together real quick before the Wizards make their pick? We got about 3 minutes until so. I think you're muted, Noah.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
Yeah, no, I'm muted.
No, it's not working. Maybe check your mic. Okay, well.
I'm going to have Brian. Brian, let me direct it to you then while we fix that. Brian, how do you feel about the fit of Bam and Giannis together?
I mean, in theory, it should work pretty well. It should be really good defensively. My question is how they fill out the rest of the roster, and is this roster actually better than what the Bucks have? It should be. It probably is, but and the Bucks have a little talent on those teams. The back end of the roster, was pretty bad, but I mean, I guess it is Spoelstra as well, and you can count on them finding 2 undrafted players out of nowhere, the Myron Gardners of the world, to come in and play 30 minutes a night in the playoffs or something like that. But, I don't know. Well, to me, this feels like, let's just wait and see. And I think they'll be good, but I don't think they're going to be, overwhelmingly good like some other people think.
And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I was just to your point, to back up your point. I think them keeping Pelle Larsson it was so huge in that deal. He's super underrated, and I think in terms of both fantasy production and then also just Miami has a legitimate threat in the East. Them retaining him in this deal, I think I just think it's been pretty understated to this point. I think there's a lot of discussion around Norman Powell, but I think you should be looking at Pelle Larsson.
Very good, very good. So the pick is, and we do expect Adam Silver on the stage pretty shortly here. Then we will be, of course, giving our instant reaction to this first overall pick as it happens. So I know this Giannis trade is just so interesting, seeing the fit in the front court between both Giannis and Bam, how that might work. But like as mentioned, Spoelstra is just such a creative coach. Even last year's system, like the team was a pretty odd fit in general, and he found a way to make it work with a team that basically didn't use screens that much at all. Pretty much like the opposite of what's happened, like, or what, the trend of what's happened in the NBA. So there's definitely a lot of like pieces that he has to work with here, but I think he's going to really pull it out. And I think Adam Silver is coming to the stage right now. Nope, he's dragging it out as long as possible. The pick is definitely in though. Brax, I think we fixed the feedback issue. I no longer hear it. So thank you for people who helped point that out for us. We really appreciate that. So luckily we got that fixed before this first overall pick happened. So now we can consider the stream officially started here. Thank everybody for joining in with us. Again, the stream's going to be here for all 30 picks, and we will also be showing your comments on screen. We had someone mention that they wish they had Pele in the Angle Dynasty League. That is the league we definitely highly publicize as our sole Dynasty League within our server. 30 members. So you'll see a whole YouTube channel, like a playlist history of the original draft all the way through our rookie drafts, power rank updates, playoff updates. Our defending champion is actually Mitchell, who's the third Angle member, wasn't able to make it tonight. He just got a new job that has him coming home pretty late. Here comes Adam Silver. Let's go.
The Washington Wizards select Jr.
Woo!
There we go. We're on the board.
For some reason, he started to say his real first name. I was like, wait, who's he talking about? Anissa. All right, so AJ Debanza taken with the first overall pick. Zach, your instant reaction to his fit in Washington and maybe where you might value him in a rookie dynasty draft.
Yeah, pretty much expected the fit. Expected them to take him. He'll fit in perfectly well. They need that star guy. They're certainly going to get someone with some star potential in AJ. Everything that they value is right there with AJ. He's going to be such a great fit, especially working with Trae Young, with Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George. He fits right in with the roster. He'll be really good from day one. I in terms of dynasty, I rank him at about the same spot that I have pretty much all year, which is taking him with the third overall pick in categories leagues, second in points leagues. Feeling pretty good about that still. I would value him at about a top 20, 25 asset as of right now. Feeling good about that as well. Kind of been fast in that for the last couple of months. We kind of expected all this really, and it's come to fruition. So yeah, feeling great about where I've stood on that.
Very nice, very nice. We're moving on to the second overall pick here, but let's go to you, Brian, because AJ is a BYU Cougar. That is your current school right now. So feedback on where you're seeing your star player. Is this their highest drafted player ever, BYU's?
Yeah, I mean, Jaeger and Jimmer both were number 8, and that was the highest. And then I think Shaw Browder's number 2. So yeah, this is number 1.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, for real, that's happening at BYU for one. But the second thing is that I think the fit's great for Washington. I think that they need some more rim pressure, and AJ will certainly be able to do that. With Trae Young and Anthony Davis there, I think some of the wards that AJ had where he's super ball dominant won't be as prevalent. Maybe Trae Young can actually set him up instead of Rob Wright. No offense to Rob Wright, but even with this stretch 5, which BYU didn't even have, there's maybe more space at the rim. I think AJ could realistically score 22 points as a rookie. I don't think that's crazy. And I think he'd get up to 29 to 30 in his prime if it works out. He's so hard to guard, and if he ever gets a pull-up jumper from 3, he is going to be one of the most dangerous offensive players in the league. Because if the passing's real, he can rebound, and if the shot comes around, it's going to look great. Or even if the defense comes around. like even if the defense comes around, he's gonna be really, really good too. So yeah, this to me was the no-brainer number one pick for Washington. And even though I had Boozer number one, they were all in the same tier to me. And knowing how NBA teams like operate, I'm guessing they would have taken him number one. I would have done it at the same time. So
Yeah, and I agree with where you guys are at. Like Zach, you mentioned you got him around somewhere around 20 to 25 as a dynasty asset. Makes a ton of sense. Just the scoring, the likely defensive development that we'll see, the likely development in the shooting that we'll see. He seems going to be a very, very versatile 9-category player, probably even a really good points league player too. Let's go to you, Noah. Any instant reactions you wanted to add on where you have Debansa in the realm of dynasty right now?
Mic check, mic working now?
You're good?
Okay,
You're good.
cool.
Here you
got it figured out. Pretty much right in line. I pre-draft knowing where everyone was, but like kind of already knowing where these top guys are going. Had him 4th in categories, 2nd in points leagues, but like it's really close together. Like it's nothing where it's like I'm gonna sit here and just passionately argue for 30 minutes between 4 and 3 for the band. So like he's a very talented player. Everyone in the top 4 is yeah, I feel like I'd just be echoing the same points if I keep talking, so I'll stop.
All right, very good.
This is why I was so excited to talk about Trae Young at the top, right? Is because I think his fit. I know people are really like dogging on this signing from the Wizards, but I think his fit along with Debansa as well as Anthony Davis, Keyshawn George, all of these pieces they have around him screams playoff team to me, right? They're getting the buy-in from guys like Trae and Anthony Davis. Now, as far as fantasy value, we're not even talking about Alex Sarr here, right? Like, so fantasy value, I think it's getting a little bit crowded for these Wizards players. Keyshawn George especially. I really think these assists are going to dip for him. Justin Champagnie as well. I think he was somebody who I was really high on coming into this year before some of these last year. Moving forward, I was very high on Justin Champagnie as a long-term piece on this Wizards team. But with this continued the additional guys that they're adding would affect both him and Will Riley. I know we saw that Will Riley break out late in the season as well. So there's just so much going on here on this Wizards team. They have an abundance of riches in terms of and not enough usage to go around. So I don't know. I just think it's a super interesting team, both fantasy and in real life for next season.
It's a good point you bring up about just, the impact on the rest of the front court for the Wizards, because it is a bit more of a crowded rotation now. What is this impact on Keyshawn George? Because if there's less assists out of Keyshawn George, well, is like Braxton, like how much does that decrease your overall kind of valuation of him in Dynasty if there's less, let's say, scoring and assists, maybe just less usage in general?
A lot. And I mean, even last year, he had some, like he started off so hot.
Hang on, Brax.
Go ahead.
Darren Peterson to the Utah Jazz. We got his preferred pick. Congratulations, Brian, to your Utah Jazz. Sorry about that. Brax. Adam Silver snuck up on you.
No, go ahead. Let's move to the Jazz.
Let's move to the Jazz. Brian, how you feeling right now, dude?
Great. This is where they should have got taken. Wouldn't be surprised if he starts immediately, depending on how they do about his bid. But yeah, this is great. This is reportedly who they had number one on their board. So yeah, this was the right pick for them at the very least.
Very good, very good. And such an elite scoring talent. And there's plenty of people out there who believe he should have gone number one overall in this draft. But you look at where the Wizards just committed so much money to a point guard in Trae Young or just a lead ball handler. Yes, they probably do have room for another good, shooting guard right next to him. I mean, they drafted Trey Johnson last year. You would hope his development comes around a little bit more because I would say he's a little behind what a lot of us wanted to see for him, or what maybe some people, there are some people who weren't that high on him, and maybe this is what they expected out of him. But there technically probably could have been some room, but they stick with, the more, bigger players like a Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, for example. Both are probably a little bit bigger than Peterson, but Peterson is a big guy himself. He is 6'6". He is not on the smaller side for a shooting guard. So this is someone who does offer that elite scoring talent for you, who hopefully can get some more development in the playmaking area. This is something that we saw a bit more of, like, let's say maybe in high school, and just last year in Kansas we didn't see so much. But there is other point guards in Utah. Keontae George is there, Isaiah Collier is there, and I think there still is plenty of playmaking responsibilities that could be available to Peterson. I think this is just a solid overall spot for him to land and develop. Let's go to you here, Noah. Impact on Keontae George, because this is obviously relevant for Dynasty as well. Are you worried about, does this decrease your valuation of him in any way, or are you not worried since Peterson does, we could all probably agree, play a different position?
I think we might agree, but it didn't seem like, based on reports, that Darren Peterson necessarily agreed, because there was reports that he wanted to play point guard, or he was expecting to play point guard. I wasn't the biggest Keontae George fan. I'm still not the biggest Keontae George fan. Definitely improved drastically last season and was really, really good, but I still have questions about him long term. And I think immediately there probably isn't too much of a negative impact there. Maybe it helps him a little bit as just having him be in more of a facilitator role, just having another perimeter shot creator. I mean, just having that full team healthy is going to work wonders, I think, for a lot of the guys on the team. So perhaps long term, but it's hard for me to view him too much more, far more negatively based on this pick, because I already wasn't super high on him, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there is kind of a mixed bag out there in regards to some people on Keontae George, and this is someone we talked about in a fairly recent podcast, and we even got mixed comments on the video about him. Some people that kind of agreed that maybe it was an outlier season, and then other people who were adamant that this is likely the norm for Keontae George moving forward, and said the numbers really back up and support that. Well, I believe we have the pick in for Memphis now, and if it's who we expect it to be, I mean, obviously this is one of the best players on the board, and this is somebody who, if this is who goes, this is who we at Angle have at number 1 in our Dynasty big board. And I don't know if necessarily Memphis changes that or not. And Braxton, let me fill you in here. Cam Boozer, son of Carlos Boozer, basically a power forward player. That's kind of what his main position would be. Likely star level talent. How worried are you for Santi Aldama if this is who Memphis ends up following through and drafting?
I'm already a little bit worried for Santi Aldama. He did not really live up to my expectations of him last season. I think he was set up to have just a massive season, and still underwhelmed in some spots. To answer your question directly, it's going to be bad. There is a ton of usage that's going to be up for grabs on Memphis, depending on what they get back in a John Morant trade. I don't think it's going to be much, right? And especially in terms of legitimately good younger players. So there could be some hope for Santi, but it seems like Zach Edey and Cedric Coward are much higher priorities for Memphis than Santi would be. And then you toss Boozer into the mix, and it's just going to be he might not even start, right? Depending on if Edey ever decides he wants to play basketball again. Not that it was his decision to get injured, right? But it's just he doesn't seem to be a priority to me. Santi seems like somebody that could be a trade candidate for to get moved to a better team. And if he does, that is not necessarily good for his value, right? If he gets moved to a better team. The idea with Santi is that, okay, he's on this terrible team, right? He's going to get as much usage as he wants. But to me, that contract, coupled with the fact that Memphis is really heading towards just an outright tank here, screams to me like Santi might actually get moved. So.
It does feel like a movable contract to me as well. And obviously you want to prioritize Cam Boozer here. So, I mean, I guess this would be best case scenario. Oh, here's Adam Silver.
The Memphis Grizzlies select Cameron Boozer.
There we go. There we go. So at least in regards to real life mock drafts, this is kind of what a lot of people have expected so far. Maybe the 2 and 3 were the ones that were up for debate, but it seems like, just based off fit, Wizards wanted AJ for a while. Peterson, many would argue was best available, but definitely fits the Jazz needs the most. And then for Boozer, I mean, for people who, let's say like us, who value him probably the higher end of our big board for Dynasty, just competing with Santi Aldama for the power forward position is obviously a lot better than competing with, Lauri Markkanen. You got Walker Kessler down low too. Great front court players in Utah. Ace Bailey. So it seems a little bit lighter in Memphis for sure. And this is definitely an opportunity for them to fully focus on, Boozer's development. Whether that ends up being he plays alongside Santi, let's say if Zach Edey's hurt a bunch, which is definitely possible. Whether they end up moving Santi because he has a somewhat tradable contract. There's a lot of different things that can happen here. But you gotta, Boozer is the future of this team as of this moment in time. Zach, let's go to you. Instant Dynasty reactions on Boozer. Where do you perhaps maybe see him on your big board now that he's officially been drafted?
Yeah, I love it for him. Memphis is going to be a great spot for him. He fits all of the culture, the identity. He's going to be really great next to Zach Edey. I would imagine right now the starting five, obviously pending Ja Morant trade potentially. But I guess the starting five is going to look something like Ja, maybe Ty Jerome at 2, maybe Cedric Howard at the 3, Cam Boozer at 4, and then Edey at 5. I think that's going to be perfect for Boozer to get a lot of his touches. He's going to be very productive fantasy-wise from day one, just as I think we all anticipated. Memphis is going to be the best spot for him, I think, in that regard. Irregardless of the landing spot, though, I felt pretty good about him being my number 1 for Dynasty, and I remain as such, both for points and categories leagues. He's going to be valuable from day one. I currently value him at about maybe the 11th, 12th, 13th spot in my rankings. That will also remain the same. Pretty high on him. He's going to come out pretty high. He's going to look like a fantasy darling pretty early on. So, yeah, super excited for him.
Is what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
There's people that have him in that discussion, like Brax. The one ranking I did for rebuilding players or rebuilding dynasty player focused ranking that I did, he was I think 15th, and this was a couple months ago. So I definitely can see why people have valued him or valuing him that high. The 9-cat skill set is there, Brax. This is the jumbo power forward who does a little bit of everything. He can shoot, he can pass, he plays good defense, and so just for this format that we play of the class seems to just have the most volume in all 9 categories that can be offered from this class.
Sure. And I mean, the reason I say something is because I'm always a little bit hesitant to take a rookie that high, especially in a startup draft scenario, right? Where you're kind of, unless you pair him with a really decently valued veteran in the 2nd round or 3rd round or whatever it is, depending on league size, you might be setting yourself up for a 2-3 year, maybe not tank, but just, almost setback, just because you're not getting the production you need out of your top guy, right? So I'm thinking from more of a deeper league perspective, right? In a shallower league, 12, 14 teams, you could probably get away with that and being able to supplement him and backfill some of that production with veterans that fall. But, even as a guy, somebody like Boozer, you compare him to maybe the archetype of Sabonis or something like that, where you're getting those assists out of that big man spot. You look at somebody like Sabonis at his peak, you're still only looking at 15th or so in terms of dynasty value. So it's just an arbitrary discussion, right? I mean, it's just always something I consider, especially when it comes to rookies. Obviously the flag, people had Krupa flag around in that range, if not higher, going to last season, and he kind of justified it, right? But how many dynasty owners who own flag won championships year one? And I'm not referring to your ranking specifically. I'm just talking kind of as a whole here within dynasty rankings. It's kind of an ongoing discussion Andrew and I and Mitch have been having about, the arbitrariness of dynasty rankings. So.
Yeah, no, very much arbitrary. I think that's all on point for sure. I could totally see a world where that ends up being the case, where he kind of does disappoint relative to expectations early on. I do think he's going to be, really just have the keys from day one. So I am hopeful about that. But yeah, I think that's a good point about Sabonis. That may be kind of what you're looking at in terms of the long-term, just raw stats. You could see, I am interested to see how they kind of use him, especially as sort of the playmaking hub. I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think I think Memphis is going to get really creative with him. So yeah, a lot of possibilities. I think fantasy wise.
How about Paul Millsap as a name? As a fantasy player.
I like that.
Well, Millsap was a good fantasy player in his heyday, man. He was very good, very well rounded for sure. I'm trying to remember what was his highest peak for like a redraft league? Was he like a second round player?
Yeah, Millsap was always somebody better in fantasy than real life.
Top 10.
No, yeah, definitely one of those guys that was for sure like built for 9 cap. But obviously we love those guys for sure. Let's see, we got Chicago should be making their pick pretty soon here. Oh, here's Adam Silver. Let's go.
With the 4th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select Caleb Wilson.
There we go. Everything's going according to our plan so far. I'm assuming maybe once we get to 5 here with the Clippers is where things might start getting crazy. But I mean, it seems like just there being kind of a big 4 in this draft was super solidified from the get-go. And despite Wilson being hurt on the latter half of the season for North Carolina, he was always valued in either a complete tier of his own in tier 2 behind the first 3 guys, or maybe one other player in there. But this feels more like a big 4 draft to me. And Chicago has a massive hole in their front court. I think we could all agree. I mean, depending on Modest can play power forward, but he can obviously be in the small forward next to another power forward and a big man. Vucevic is gone. It's really just like Jalen Smith there.
Claxton.
Well, Claxton is there now, yes. And that's going to bring me to my first question is, what does a Claxton and Caleb Wilson front court look like? Let's go to you first on that, Brian. Like, how do you feel about Caleb Wilson as a dynasty asset, and then now having to play next to Nicholas Claxton, most likely?
So personally, for as a dynasty asset, I would have Caleb Wilson 4th behind AJ and Darren, and the reason for that is that I think at least immediately there's more offensive upside, and considering your league, you'd be more likely to trade DP and AJ for more than you would Caleb Wilson early on, at least personally. But again, that depends on your league. If your league's a lot more patient, then you could consider Wilson a little bit higher. And Wilson obviously has the fantasy stocks, the defensive numbers that AJ and Darren did not display. But as for like a fit with Claxton, I think it would work out pretty well. I mean, Claxton can pass, that's one thing, and Claxton can space out a little bit. As for like long term, like Claxton's not going to be there, and obviously that shouldn't impact it too much for dynasty. But at least for next season, I would expect Wilson to probably be around like 100 as a redraft player, maybe a little bit higher depending on how things go. But I think he'll fit with Giddey really well, and I think there is a lot of potential for a Pascal Siakam like outcome here, maybe more defensive numbers. But the other thing with Caleb Wilson that's really important to note is that he is probably the most psychotic person out of the top 4. He is crazy, and he holds every single slight against him as a personal insult to him and his family and his future posterity. Like, it's literally just it's hilarious to watch. And so it would not surprise me if Wilson ends up just being the best player out of this draft because he ends up outworking everyone else. He's got the tools. It just depends on the shooting and the defensive IQ and awareness, because he looks like a good defender, but he was not a good defender at North Carolina, despite the high steal and block numbers. And for that reason, I do worry a little bit that maybe like the real downside is like skinnier Obi Toppin, but the outside could be like Kevin Garnett. Like, it could look really good.
It's a wide range.
That is a wide range. That is a very wide range. That's maybe why he wasn't, he's maybe like in a tier of his own right outside of that big 3 or top 3. Maybe that could be a good reason why is that a bit of a lower floor. I think some people would probably agree with that. And we have still a few minutes. The pick is not even in yet for the Clippers, but we're gonna of course keep our eyes plugged on social media here, guys. Just if you guys see anything come up, because I feel like I saw some rumors for this 5th pick. I hope the Clippers actually make it. There's a lot of players in this draft that I think are really good for them.
I heard
so
they might move it for Zubats.
What? For Zubac? The guy they just traded?
Yeah, I'm hearing.
Really?
Pacers go draft Keaton Walker.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that they can. There's a lot of answers for what they need. There's a lot of guards that offer more size alongside a Darius Garland who is still there. The timer has run out. Pick is not in yet. So while we wait for Adam Silver to appear, Noah, thoughts on Caleb Wilson? Do you like him?
I do like him. Hope this sounds a little bit better. My mic is
Much better
now. Cool. Yeah, really like him as a fantasy prospect. Obviously, we saw the numbers that he put up. Everything except the shooting looked good or was productive, and I assume that'll translate. He's an incredible athlete. As far as how that fits in Chicago year one, I think him and Josh Giddey, getting some easy buckets that way works out well. Claxton can pass, and that is another option for him scoring, but it's like just the lack of shooting is terrifying. So I don't think that this is something where it's like you plug in this guy and yep, Chicago's back in the postseason conversation. Maybe there's just enough talent that they approach a play-in team, but like this team is years away, and I think seeing Bryson Graham kind of put his vision out there, we'll see what they do because they have another pick. So seeing what they do with that will be interesting as well. Because it was definitely. I don't know if he's like a. We'll see how he develops. To be like a franchise cornerstone, but like kind of like a complementary piece to a franchise cornerstone. Because I don't think that whoever that is ends up being the next face of the franchise on the roster, unless it ends up being Caleb Wilson. But I guess we'll see. Adam Silver's about to announce another pick. So,
all right. So we got him coming out any moment here, and it's great that the Bulls were actually picking up front court players because they picked up 6 or 7 point guards in that during the kind of late season frenzy that they had last season. We got Adam Silver. Let's go. Clippers are making the pick
in the 2026 NBA draft. The LA Clippers select Keaton Wagler.
Wow.
There we go.
Keaton Wagler going 5th. I love it. I don't know about you guys. I think there's room for him there. I really do. There's a great place for Keaton Wagler alongside Darius Garland. He's going to be playing alongside Kawhi Leonard. I think it's a really good fit. This is, in my opinion, one of the higher IQs, basketball IQs that you can get in this draft class. The ability to score the way he scores without really a whole lot of physical tools. This is the exact opposite of Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson is one of the most toolsy guys you can possibly imagine. And Wagler, he's 6'6", and that's about it. But just the way, the definition of a crafty player. And I think he is going to provide great value from 9 catch, scoring, free throws, threes. He's an excellent shooter from pretty much anywhere that you can think of. Some rebounding and assists are going to be mixed in there. Can't promise you that much defense, though, and that's why he didn't go in the top 4. Some of these guys are just a little bit more well-rounded, but I think this is somebody with a very long NBA career ahead of him. How do you feel about Wagler's fit in LA, Brian?
I'll actually push back on the defense a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I think he knows where he needs to be, for one thing. Illinois, what do you think Illinois ranked in terms of defensive numbers in the country?
I mean, I do know the game plan was don't foul, no gambling. Probably pretty low in regards to creating turnovers. Okay, yes.
Will Riley surpassed his steal number in 5 games. I'm not as worried about the defense, and with Wagler, it's all just he knows where he needs to be. I'm not worried about him being a low to steals guy. I think he'll be average, and blocks will probably be below average. But at the end of the day, I think Wagler's I think the fantasy upside could actually really explode. This is one where I think this is probably the one guard where I think could just pop out of nowhere and be a top 20 dynasty asset at some point. Just given how he can play on and off the ball. I think there's real on-ball equity there. He is one of the best offensive rebounders in the draft, regardless of the numbers say. He is everywhere on the offensive glass. And he's already put on 30 pounds in the past year. And his dad's pretty big. He's going to continue to add weight. Defensively, he will be fine in time. It's just early on, it might be a bit rough. But he's super smart. This feels like just a typical Colin Knippel is the offense and the upside higher than what we think. And at worst case scenario for me, Keaton Wagler is maybe Quentin Grimes, but way more smart. and then the upside is like, dare I say, all NBA. Like, I mean, it's pretty high, I think.
Yeah. I mean, just like you mentioned with those defensive tools coming around. I mean, he's just a late bloomer in general. He was a 4-star recruit, was not really expected to be part of their game plan coming into this season for Illinois. Ended up supplanting, Keelan Boswell as the lead ball handler. Just coming out of nowhere is kind of what this kid does, and that might happen on the NBA scene as well. Like similar to what Connor Kneppel did last year. I mean, a lot of us knew who he was, but the immediate translation was obviously way above what many people expected for him. And I could easily see what happens with Wagner too, especially because the role is there for him, despite, Clippers being a team that do actively try to win games. They're not necessarily a tanking team. The role is there. I mean, maybe Benedict Mathurin comes back, but I still think he can play alongside him at the 3 as well, because Kawhi Leonard could also play power forward. He's kind of I feel like Mathurin feels more like a 6-man type of guy to me anyways right now. And obviously you want to prioritize Wagner because the Clippers haven't had a pick this high in quite some time. Zach, what do you want to add on Keaton Wagner? Your thoughts on him for Dynasty?
Yeah, not a whole lot I really need to add. I think he has the chance to be a fantasy star for sure. Ridiculous shooting gravity, parking lot range. I'm with Brian. I think he's going to be a fine defender in the NBA. I'm not super concerned. He's I mean, the upside is just could be so high with him. Like Brian and I have kind of had this conversation, and maybe we talked about it on one of y'all's podcasts, but he's not Tyrese Halliburton, but maybe the closest thing to Tyrese Halliburton in this draft.
Yep.
Upside could be ridiculous. I mean, truly.
Yep.
I mean, obviously the passing's not nearly as good, but
yeah, not even
as a
close.
Pick and roll ball handler, like he is the best in the draft, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we only saw it for a short period of time because they Kylan Boswell, but it's not a coincidence. As soon as Boswell gets hurt, Wagner's stock explodes, and he looks like a top 4 pick at that stretch. But like at the end of the day, like he's just super smart, and I really just he's so fun to watch too. It's like this doesn't make sense on how he's so good, and yet here we are. And the athleticism improved as well, like genuinely improved. Like was it 36-inch vertical, something like that? Like he'll be fine. I'm not worried.
I can't emphasize enough too, like how much of a late bloomer he is. Like there was an really good article written about him a couple months ago. I believe it was saying that like when he was 15, he was like maybe 5'9" or something like that. He's just like, I mean, he's sprouted like so quick. So that's one of the things I know people are worried about, the weight. I think he'll be fine. I think getting him with NBA staff, nutritionists, everything, it'll get him right and exactly where his body needs to be.
We got Brooklyn's pick coming out now.
2026 NBA draft. The Brooklyn Nets select Michael Brown Jr.
There we go.
Some of these mocks have been dead on so far, man. All right. Michael Brown going to Brooklyn. One of the other, I was very curious who was going to go between 5 and 6, between Brown and Wagner for pick number 5. I feel like the Clippers are closely considering both of them. Didn't feel necessarily like a wrong answer to me, but me personally, I wanted to see Wagner go there, especially I got to see him play against USC in person. Just super fun player to watch. But Brown is somebody who, had a little bit of durability issues during this season, but is undeniably a super talented player. And now with this pick, we have guys like Darius Acuff still on the board. Kingston Flemings is still on the board. And so it feels like, at least for now, Brooklyn is sticking with Yegor Demin as the point guard, unless you guys think Michael Brown Jr. is potentially going to be the lead ball handler on this Brooklyn team. Does anyone want to add anything on that? What do you think about, how does this fit seem to you, Brian?
This is Michael's team. Yeah.
Michael's
Yegor can play on and off the ball. Like with all due respect, Yegor didn't show an ability to really get by people, and we couldn't really see the passing ability. I think they can play together, and I think Yegor could end up being the point guard if he actually works on his ability to get by defenders. But for Michael, for me, it's all going to come down to the decision making and shot selection. On talent, he's top 5 easily. We had him top 5 entering the year. Maybe this is a buy low opportunity for Brooklyn, but I think the back injury, from what we've heard, is that it's going to be fine. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. And yes, he has some really bad games. He also has some really fun games. What I also will note is that during high school, he was a sub 40% field goal player. And we kind of saw a bit of that in college. So I would expect, especially early on, if you got Michael Brown, expect there to be really bad games and expect like really poor percentages. The output will be there, but hopefully once the decision making improves, it'll be fine. But especially if you're going into a contending window with Michael Brown, you better be hoping you're punting field goal percentage or close to it, or you will be forced into it.
Got it.
I would just
Noah, let's hear your thoughts on Michael Brown really quickly, Braxton. I was going to come back to you to talk about the Nets first. Yes, because I feel like you have some thoughts on their players that they drafted from last year. Yes, very good. I had it all planned. Let's go to you first really quick, Noah, because I had you in the queue second. Let's give your instant thoughts on Michael Brown Dynasty.
Yeah, a lot of the things that Brian was saying, like incredibly talented offensive player, creates his own shot, creates others. Frankly, kind of like that Trae Young style of fantasy game where it's like there's a ton of turnovers, it's a low percentage. I mean, he's not going to be the assist guy that Trae Young is, but like the same style of small guard that you're going to try and build around that we'll probably see more of drafted in the top 10. But there's a lot to like here. And yeah, I think he's going to be the lead ball handler from day one. And I really do think that fits well offensively next to Dioman, just off the sense that like he can penetrate a little bit more, like Brian was saying, but now that opens up more for Dioman, who showcased a really good shot his rookie year and is a really good passer. So like him kind of being like a secondary playmaker, I think that works out really well. Obviously they're years away from contention, so they don't need to stress about the defense at this point, but definitely have some questions there, but they're also so young. So
now, Braxton, my next question for you, the Brooklyn Nets have just drafted the number 6 overall player this year. Now, with what the Nets already have, like, is it probably going to be pretty easy for a top pick to come in and make this team? How do you feel about, other than Michael Brown, how do you feel about the Nets' current assets?
Yeah, you know me so well. That's exactly where I was going. And I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background. She's excited about this Michael Brown pick as well. But yeah, Yegor Demon really had some games last year where he to me, he's looking like a guy who has really like high, just running around out there type potential. Like they gave him the keys to this offense and he would just disappear at times. I know he's super young. I know they're kind of letting him go through those growing pains, but to me, this offense is really begging for someone to kind of just take the reins. Is that going to be Julius Randle? Maybe, right? I mean, especially year one, Julius Randle's probably going to get a ton of usage, assuming he's going to be on this team. It's going to be very similar to Michael Porter Jr. from a fantasy perspective, where, he's going to – Michael Porter Jr. has had an awesome fantasy season, but he wasn't there when you needed him down the stretch, right? And I think Julius Randle is probably going to be in a similar situation. He'll get you to the playoffs, the fantasy playoffs, but he's not going to help you when he's there, right? So Nolan Traore, I think, is bad. Ben Staroff, I think, is bad as well. I think
hold that thought. We got Adam Silver coming out. Now I want you to finish that.
26th NBA draft. The Sacramento Kings select Darius Acuff Jr.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Draft starts at 8. They didn't mean 8 Eastern. They meant pick 8. That's when the draft actually starts.
All right, Braxton, finish that thought on the Nets, and then we will be moving on to the Kangs.
Yeah, just to close my thought, I think Michael Brown is going to have, as you guys said, some really bad games, but I just think there's so much opportunity there on this net squad for somebody to come in and take it, despite them drafting 3 point guards last year, despite them drafting, what was it, 4 first round picks last year. It looks like they missed on some of these. So, but we can go ahead and move on to the Kings.
I mean, boys, Russell Westbrook played a lot last year. I mean, you can say there's probably some room for a lead guard in Sacramento. We were valuing Acuff pretty highly. That was it was obviously prior to these picks being made. So we have to come to the question of how do we feel about rookies and their development in Sacramento or just being in Sacramento? Zach, tell me your thoughts on this landing spot for you and just your feelings on Acuff in general for Dynasty.
Yeah, I think, pretty early on, it seemed like it leaked and was out there that Sacramento was all in on Darius Acuff. A lot of connections there with Scott Perry. Seemed like there was just a lot there from the very beginning. So something I just had a lot of time to consider. I think Darius Acuff is going to have every opportunity. This is going to be his squad for sure. He's going to have every opportunity. He's going to take tons of shots, just like in Arkansas. We saw he was a fantastic offensive player, loaded with talent. A lot of question marks for sure. But Sacramento's been looking for this lead guard. Ever since they traded Fox, it feels like we've kind of just had this in motion for a while, kind of wondering like, hilarious. I know. It's yeah, he's it's gonna be interesting though. I mean, I have a lot of questions about him, especially at the NBA level. I have questions about the defense, of course. He's not, he's not the most athletic. It's not quite like De'Aaron Fox. It's not a clean enough 1-for-1 sub on that, obviously. But I mean, yeah, he's gonna have every opportunity to make this his team. So yeah, I'm really interested in it. He's kind of just been my pick for them from day one, really. So yeah, a lot of upside for sure. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be planning to pick him anywhere from like 5 to 7, 8, 9. I'm imagining, especially in points leagues. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have him probably starting at 5. So yeah, a lot of thoughts on him. Very polarizing prospect for sure. I know a lot of people more spreadsheet oriented had him much lower than a lot of us out there. So yeah, lot to think about with him for sure.
Yeah, he feels a little bit more kind of like the example Brian used earlier with Caleb Wilson. He feels like a really high ceiling player to me, but probably not the highest floor in general. So if it does go bad, you're not going to salvage it with like at least a still rosterable player, or maybe Andrew Wiggins never became a top 20 asset, but he's been serviceable at the least. So this is something that we have to kind of keep a close eye on with Acuff. But honestly, your response is comforting to me. I really do like Acuff, and I think the Kings just have this stigma where I was instantly like, oh no, but the situation actually probably has a lot more upside than I'm giving it credit for. Before this next pick happens, we of course have to go back to you really quick, Noah, because the team on the clock is the Atlanta Hawks. I asked Brian this same question. I will be asking you now, just aside from Dynasty, talk to me as a Hawks fan right now. Who do you want here at 8?
So I saw the pick. So do you want me to like? I'll wait and give my. I don't want to.
Well, okay.
Talk about it after. I'll talk about it after.
Okay. Well, tell me this. Tell me what you feel like. Maybe some needs are, because you guys have 2 picks, so you could obviously name multiple needs that you guys have here. Yeah.
So my thing, if there was reports or rumors that the Hawks were going to trade one of the picks or trade both the picks, like there's every single possible. And there was rumors they were going to trade up to 5. Obviously, that didn't happen. Want to get a point guard and a big man if I'm sitting there making 2 picks, because it feels like they re-signed CJ McCollum, have Dyson Daniels, have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, some guards. They have Jalen Johnson. They have Onyeka Okongwu, who's an undersized big. Ace Newell from last year. Like, there's clear like what was that?
Aaron Wiggins. They just grabbed him too.
That's right, another wing. But it's like literally last year I was making the case that the Hawks would have had a better chance against the Knicks if Jock Landale wasn't hurt in the first round. And it's like, I shouldn't have to do that. So like another big to kind of complement Onyeka Okongwu. Would love to see them add that at some point and see them add like a true lead point guard for the future. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker can do it. Dyson Daniels can do it. CJ McCollum's old. Like they all have their certain deficiencies. I'd love like a franchise point guard that isn't a defensive liability. No matter how talented they are on offense, I think like after having Trae Young for that long, it's like love to see a defensive minded point guard. And that way, 5 years down the road when they're struggling on offense, I can just flip flop and say, I wish I had an offensive minded point guard again.
I wish I had somebody like, I don't know, like a Trae Young. That is hilarious. So this pick, at least on the stream that I've got up here, should be coming any moment now. So we will wait for that to roll in, and then we will get your instant reaction on what you feel about that pick, Noah, for the Atlanta Hawks. This is at number 8 overall. Then you guys will be up again soon. Go ahead, Braxton.
I was just going to say I'm really excited to see what Acuff does in 4 years after the Kings trade him. That's going to be the buy window for sure in Dynasty.
Yeah. After a couple of years. I mean, of course, we know this in Dynasty. Point guard is just the hardest position for rookies to learn. So
Kings
it might be a little bit.
They really are turning into the farm team. They're really nailing it, point guard for sure.
Yeah, yeah, the farm team that everybody gets to pull from. Their point guard university is coming out of Sacramento, apparently. Okay, all right. So still a lot of talent on the board, and like Noah mentioned, a need for maybe the Hawks getting a point guard. This is a super rich point guard draft. So especially for us, focused in dynasty and fantasy, point guards are a great source of production for us at 9Cat. We love the assists, the steals, the scoring, especially when you have a point guard capable of doing all three of those things. Super, super useful players to have. Like Brax, you typically, I feel like, have always like a really solid point guard on your team pretty much at all times, or, whether it's like a Luka or even like a LeBron on your team at all times, you always have assists in your build. What kind of value do point guards bring to you?
Yeah, and the assist is just so easy to build around, right? Especially in deeper leagues. You have the assists, you can do the rest. The strategy I always try to approach a deeper league with is, I think it's backing yourself into a corner with a punt is a really, really tough strategy. And just having a team that can kind of rack up those counting stats, and you can figure out the percentages later.
2026 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Kingston Flemings.
Kingston Fleming to Atlanta. The point guard of the future has been chosen. Finish that thought, Braxton. We're going back to you, Noah.
And I was just going to say the counting stats is where I really like to thrive when it comes from a deep league perspective. So point guard just plays right into that. And in the chat, and I'm sure we're about to toss it to Noah for his thoughts, but Donatai asks, is dying for your thoughts, Noah, on this Atlanta pick?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of a lot of the things I was hinting at before of like a defensive. I wanted Flemings or Burries with this pick. Depending on what else I could have done, I would have been like pretty happy with Mara if they would have ended up getting another guard. But like Flemings or Burries made a ton of sense here. Defensive mind, I know there's like questions about like his wingspan being a little bit smaller, like, but he's a freak athlete, and I don't think he plays that small. He's athletic, like can get up. He's like strong defender. Questions about the perimeter shot, maybe a little bit. I think he can shoot it. He just didn't shoot it that much, which is a little iffy with some of the other guys on this team. Just like Dyson Dale's obviously being a non-shooter, a couple of the other guys being improved shooters, like Jalen Johnson and Kong have gotten better as shooters, but maybe a slight concern there. But gosh, I mean, like, I didn't read his full article that he posted this morning. I kind of skimmed through it, but now I'm going to go back and read the whole thing. So I'm really excited about that.
So like back to what you were talking about, Braxton, what point guards can produce. Like, let me fill you in on kind of the idea of Flemings here. Maybe imagine kind of like a Mike Conley can do a little bit of that scoring, some great defensive output. You got the playmaking as well. So this is kind of the type of player that we're looking at. Whereas, Acuff is, I would argue much more of like an offensive score first oriented point guard. Think about like what a Damian Lillard is. I mean, I know obviously that's comparing him to a superstar, but he has that ceiling, but there's of course a low floor as well. It's a possibility that he gets played off the floor due to defensive concerns, but I don't feel any defensive concerns with Kingston Flemings, a very, very good defender. I mean, you can usually count on some good defense coming out of this Houston program. How do you feel about Flemings in Dynasty, Brian?
I think he'll be great. Kind of similar to how Andrew Nembhard is viewed. I think that's how Flemings will be kind of comped to. I think Flemings has got more athletic pop than what Nembhard has, but yeah, I'm a believer in Flemings the person in terms of his work ethic and personality. I think he'll be a great fit in that organization. He can play on and off the ball. Yeah, I think it's a great pick. It makes a lot of sense. Atlanta, obviously, there were a lot of questions of what they were going to do. Were they going to trade the pick? But if they stayed, I think this was the correct option for the Atlanta Hawks.
What's really interesting to me is I saw some maybe predictions of potentially a Mara here at number 8, but a Mara is still on the board. We have Dallas on the clock at the moment. Actually, it says the pick is in, but we got Lively and Gafford. I mean, Gafford for now. Lively is still in town with Dallas. So I mean, Zach, with this pick about to come in here for Dallas, what do you see for them possibly trying to look for here to play alongside Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I was thinking, up until, 24 hours ago, however long ago, until Dusty May got hired, this is probably the team that's targeting someone like Braden Burries. I think really just the through line of regardless of who they pick is going to be, this complementary skills, somebody who can just kind of play more of that support role. Really the two names I have in mind are Burries, like I mentioned, and Morez Johnson. Certainly the connection makes sense there. Bringing in Dusty May could be a great fit there for sure. questions about kind of the big man room in general, but that's what Dusty May does. He's a big man. He makes jumbo lineups work. You're going to see a lot of Cooper Flagg at point guard, and he's going to potentially make it great. I mean, he was the best coach in the country this last year. If there's anybody who's going to have NBA success translating, it's absolutely going to be him. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at here is Breeze or Morez for a lot of those support role skills.
You don't think he might be tempted to draft Mara in this spot, or do you think in regards to like true centers, they're probably gonna maybe roll with Lively? Like, do you still like somebody like Lively in Dynasty?
I'm a little worried about Lively. I guess really this pick is kind of what will be the ultimate determinant, I think, for Lively. If it is Mara, I'm pretty scared about Lively. If it is Morez, I'm a little bit less so. Braden Murray's obviously notwithstanding on that. But yeah, it really just depends on who they take here that I think ultimately kind of decides my thoughts on Lively. I'm generally just a little worried, though, just because of the injury history.
Yeah, I mean, because Morez kind of screams to me somebody, at least if he's developed properly, can be like a Naz Reid who's capable of playing alongside another center. So it still works, him and Lively being on the floor at the same time. And like you mentioned with their coach, having that, at least the tendency and proven history to be able to make jumbo lineups work. I mean, you have Flagg, Lively, and Morris on the floor at the same time. That is a lot of size right there. Here comes Adam Silver, guys, for Dallas.
With the 9th pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Morez Johnson Jr.
Wow. Morez
Let's
goes
go.
in the top 10. Wow. Wow. I mean, like every single mock update of any sources you're paying attention to, whether it's No Ceiling, other media sources, anything along those lines, even in probably a lot of our Dynasty big boards, every time you check an update, Morez just feels like he crept higher and higher and higher, especially once you see that combine data. So like I was mentioning to them, Brax, this is someone who could play alongside, fellow big men, rim protecting big men. Think of maybe like a Naz Reid type of player who's very versatile, can guard arguably 2 through 5, stretch the floor, and just provide a lot of defensive value, and just off like really, really insanely good athletic testing numbers at the combine. Huge hands, huge wingspan. He's like 6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan, something along those lines. And then you just want to see the shooting develop a bit, and I definitely think that it will. Brian, how do you feel about Morez Johnson in Dynasty?
First of all, I want to congratulate Dusty May, who a few days ago was on with Kristen Peak. And also we heard that Dusty May specifically said that he expects Morez Johnson to be the first Michigan player off the board. Thank you, Dusty. I appreciate the heads up.
Thank you, Dusty.
But in all seriousness, I had Morez like at 9 in my personal board. He's risen up basically every single week on some level. It's just, for fantasy, he's spectacular. Like he is a way better rebounder than he got to show at Illinois and Michigan, because he will not be playing well. And there's only one ball. Like he's just an unbelievable rebounder when he's a center, and so I think it's very and obviously relationship with Dusty. I fully expect him. I think he's probably going to start. To be honest, he might be close to it. Like he's going to be really good early on, and he's one of the most athletic players at the combine. And he's like 6'9", 250. Like that's insane. He's going to be fine. Like I've always come to like Al Horford for how I think this might actually go. He has an incredible work ethic. He was not a shooter at all during high school or even that first year at Illinois. But from what I've heard from people that went and saw Illinois games, especially during like pregame warmups, is that he was working on like threes, and not just like threes, like in-game intensity threes, where he's like at 180 beats per minute and just shooting threes nonstop. Like it's something that I was like, okay, that's really interesting, and we saw the improvement. We have a track record of it. He's an incredibly hard worker and plays super hard during the game. He will be a fan favorite in Dallas. And for fantasy, like this to me, like I think the peak's probably going to be what, top 50, top 40, best case scenario. Like he's going to be really good. And he is someone that I wouldn't be that mad if someone reached for him in a dynasty draft, because he's obviously the first big off the board, and I think he's a better player and better long-term prospect than a Diamora. And so I think he'll be able to play minutes. I think that's the difference between the two. So
Okay. So, hearing everything that we've been, this glazed session of Morez Johnson here, let's go to you, Braxton. A prospect that, our description here, 6'9", 7'2" wingspan, super athletic. This is someone who I believe can achieve the 1-1 pretty soon. 1-3, 1 steal, 1 block per game. I see that happening relatively soon in his career, and we can get some strong rebounds and strong scoring out of this guy as well. So how do you feel about a prospect of that nature and the fit and needs that the Mavericks had?
Andrew, just when to come to me when I have some thoughts on something. So you mentioned Zach that you were a little bit worried about Derek Lively. Kind of even before this pick was made. I've been very worried about Derek Lively for a while now. And
sure.
I think that this pick is going to be not good for him. Daniel Gafford, the Mavs seem to need to have 5 centers or 5 players who can play centers at all times. I don't know if Dwight Powell actually ended up retiring or if he's coming back, but Dwight Powell's always in the mix, that kind of thing. Morez Johnson, I think Brian, your thought about him finishing potential, rather, I should say, of top 40, top 50 is really interesting. And I guess it is just that 9-cat skill set of that 1-1 that you mentioned, Andrew, that really potentially gives him that opportunity. And then also that connection with Dusty May. I think, Brian, that was a great point, that it's possible he starts very early on in his career as Dusty May kind of leads the charge on this rebuild. I mean, it seems like they're going to keep Kyrie in town. And I guess so he can teach Cooper Flag things, but the Mavs are not going to be good next year. And I think with a new coach coming in like this, especially with these college ties, it's, to me, somewhat likely he's going to get his guys in there, and he's not really going to have much concern for kind of the previous regime. Derek Lively wasn't his guy. Daniel Gafford wasn't his guy, right? So could lose priority to his first round pick here. So
very good. So we currently have Milwaukee with the pick is in. It's Adam Silver should be coming out shortly. They have, I think it's 2 of the 4 next upcoming picks. I believe it's 10 and 13 that they have. Surprisingly to see that OKC is still there at 12, unless there's some potential trade that I don't know about. But with Milwaukee at 10, entering full rebuild mode. Going to you really quickly, Noah. What do you think Milwaukee potentially needs? Still on the board, like Burris is still there. There's other high upside players that are available. I'll let you know if Adam Silver walks out right now. He's not out yet, but go ahead and any thoughts on what Milwaukee might like, where their headspace might be right now after that big Giannis trade.
They really shouldn't view too many guys in this team as like, hey, we got to draft around this player. Like, they have some guys that, like, Ryan Rollins is a player I like, and they got the guys from Miami, but like, you just got to go best player available. It's gonna be a really long rebuild for them. So
here he comes. Perfect segue, Noah.
With the 10th pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Braden Burries.
Wow.
Best player available.
Wow.
You would agree best player available right now? Any instant dynasty thoughts you want to give on Burries, Noah?
Yeah, I mean, he's the older guard among that group of top guards. Like, he's going to be 21, I think, before the season starts, or around the time the season starts. So a little bit older, but good two-way player. Maybe not the explosive offensive player that some of those other guys are, but a lot to like a really solid building block for the Bucks. I think, like, it's going to be a lengthy rebuild, but he's a guy that can play early and often, and like kind of start to develop a culture there that kind of like the post Giannis era. Maybe not a guy to build around, but a guy to build with.
It feels like a really, really like high level role player is his future to me. Especially a pick in this range at number 10. Like, maybe a lot of these like star level upside guys, but elite role players are definitely still on the board. And that's what Burries feels like to me, especially with the energy that he brings. I think his rebounding is probably going to get a bit better. And, we can talk now about the fit. Like, they just got Tyler Herro and Kasparis Jakubjonas. Ryan Rollins is still there. But Braden Burries does, I feel, offer a bit of a different look. Let's go to you, Brian. How do you feel about this fit for Burries? There is a good amount of ball handlers in Milwaukee right now, but how do you think he's going to make that work?
Obviously, now he is probably the priority on that team. So I would be willing to give him the ball and see what the point guard abilities are, because we didn't see that in college, but he was a point guard in high school. So that is something to at least monitor. As for the fit, I think given the circumstances, I think it was smart to grab one of the guards and then hope that they get someone at 13 that they might have been eyeing at number 10. And so I think, as for this, I think this is great process by the Bucks, and I will give John Horst credit for this one. This one was a good pick. And at the very least, I feel good about him being a good role player, probably a starter when that Bucks team is good again. So, yeah, overall, really solid pick.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here that this was best player available, especially for this Bucks situation. You want to add anything on Burries, Brian?
I expect him.
I meant Zach. My apologies.
I'm gonna be honest. I fully expected them just to take Nate Ament. I was really dreading that for days. I was like, I think they're just gonna take him, and they didn't. So yeah, shout out to John Horst for that. But yeah, no, I'm echoing everything that you guys say. He's gonna be great. He's gonna be a good fit for that team. Just gonna make the guard split interesting, I think, early on at least. I mean, certainly Tyler Hero is not the long-term future there, of course. But yeah, just kind of the interesting split with Rollins, Jakashonis, and him now. And who knows about Kevin Porter Jr.? I mean, I fully expect that he is probably going to be gone anyway. But yeah, I mean, just could kind of be an interesting logjam there that we look at this year. But hey, we don't draft for just the 1 year. We're in on him, and definitely complimentary skill-wise. I mean, this is the guy. I think Burries is going to be a very good NBA player.
Very nice, very nice. So now we have the Golden State Warriors on the clock. Braxton, just talking to you about this current Warriors roster situation. One thing I'm going to let you know ahead of time is that the best true center in this draft class is still available. 7'2" rim protector, someone who's got a good feel for the game as well. He is still available. So, with that in mind, do you think this is just kind of a slam dunk pick for the Warriors at 11 here? Just grab your center of the future. Is there any other needs you think they might have at 11?
Sure. And first, I'll just say the reason Andrew keeps explaining the prospects to me is because he's a little bit more in tune with some of these draft players than I am. But yeah, I think, Al Horford and Draymond Green are not the future for Golden State, right? And Quentin Post, I think, had a huge opportunity last year, but just was not able to capitalize on it, and is probably going to cap out at a maybe okay backup. Guy Santos, a little bit undersized. He's more of a 4 anyway, right? So I think that is just what you said. Ademara could be a smash pick here for the Warriors, especially if, they want to kind of stay in that play-in mix. I think, grabbing somebody who can slot in right away and be a part of either that starting lineup or, fill that role that Quentin Post would fill, on some nights. You'd see Post play 24, 26 minutes on upwards of some nights and just get played off the floor, honestly. They're really lacking some size there at that center spot. And Al Horford, kind of in and out of the lineup all season. Porzingis, obviously there, but you can't really count on him to be in the lineup so often either. Super fragile, and he's got that illness that he continues to deal with, right? So I think it's definitely a slam dunk pick. What was the phrase you said, Andrew? Did you say slam dunk pick, or what did you say?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah. So, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. And this is your future, your rim protector of the future moving forward. Your kind of this defensive centerpiece. I'm sure there's a lot he can learn from Draymond Green, but you would think a lot of just that responsibility of protecting the basket is going to fall to him moving forward. And then if Mitchell were in this stream, I would obviously ask him who he wants. He's DM'd me already. He wants Mara. He's the highest on him between us on the big board. Really, really big fan of him. So this would work out absolutely perfectly for him if this is who the Warriors end up taking. And I think at this point, all of us in this chat would be quite shocked if they don't end up taking him. Maybe I know on the draft feed here, they're showing Jaxel Lindeberg on the camera quite a bit at this moment in time. And, they could go in that direction as well. But I think when the best, rim protector in this class is available, you might as well go for it, especially because you have Steph Curry there. You have Brandon Pajewski there. I don't think you need any of the other guards available. So waiting to see Adam Silver coming out here. Zach, anything you want to add on maybe Adai Mara as a prospect? Do you expect him to go here?
I'm not sure. I've been kind of intrigued by this Golden State spot, and I've had a lot of different fits as I've been doing mock drafts for the last month and a half, 2 months. Thinking about some of the possibilities, like Yaxel's definitely a possibility. Certainly Mara. I think Mara should be, in terms of talent, one of the best players available. Actually, probably the best player available, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so Yaxel, Mara could make sense. I think Cameron Carr could make sense if they really want like a wing who could have some shooting. Kareem Lopez has been one that I've heard buzz about. We could see, but we'll see about that, I guess. Yeah, a lot of different avenues I think they could go. But I think probably just getting maybe a 4 like Yaxel would be most ideal. Or just adding a wing like Carr. I mean, you can never have too much shooting, I think, on a team like this, and especially with his length. I mean, 7-foot wingspan. A lot he could add. So yeah, I don't know. I guess Carr, Mara, or Yaxel is kind of where I'm looking.
Yeah, speaking of Carr, it's kind of like similar to Morez. Like every time there was a big board update, whether if it was, a traditional media source or somebody doing a dynasty big board update, it seems like Carr was creeping up a little bit higher and higher and higher for each update that people were making. He was, impressive at the combine. And you're 100% right. There is no like too much wings and too much shooting. It just like in today's NBA, it really does not exist. So if they went in that direction, you can't necessarily blame them. And you are right. Maybe it is a little less black and white than we think. But let's go because Silver is now on the stage.
With the 11th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Yaxel Lendeborg.
Wow.
There we go.
Wow. Yaxel went in the lottery. I was, if I were a betting man, I was more on the side of he's probably going to, like, if there's not a specific team like the Warriors who don't take him, he's probably going to fall outside of the lottery. But the Warriors went with him at 11. And, there seems to be a lot of holes on this team. And yes, Yaxel does help in this regard, but a lot of us bring up his age as a big factor. Like people, at least because 2024 was so weak, there was big boards that showed Dalton Connect pretty high, and then he went 17 on draft night. It's like I would not have been shocked at all if that happened to Yaxel, but it didn't. He went at 11. So we got to focus on the dynasty part here. Yaxel as a 9-cat player, that's what we, a lot of our main focus is. Let's go to you first, Brian. Thoughts on Yaxel? I mean, we just had a whole conversation on Adai Mara. He didn't get drafted, so let's focus on Yaxel here. What are your thoughts for him?
I also would like to shout out Chris Duarte, who also was drafted by the Golden State Warriors and was also an older player. But I think it was a different front office, if I remember correctly. Maybe it wasn't. But yeah, for Yaxel, I think he's going to be able to play with the Warriors immediately. They do need that type of wing. It wouldn't stun me if he starts, but one of the bigger things is the difference between him and someone like Dalton Connect and a lot of the other older upperclassmen that went like pretty high in the draft is that Yaxel has a really good feel for the game for his age, and he's 6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan. Like it's like at a certain point you're just like I don't think he's gonna fail. Because at the end of the day, if he was younger, if he was 18, he would be in that. He'd probably go 4. With how good he was. But he's older, and at the end of the day, I think my impression with him is I think he's going to be a lot more like PJ Washington, maybe a little bit better than PJ Washington, but there is some potential here, especially after Steph Curry and after Draymond Green. Yaxel did show abilities to be the main guy at UAB. It would not be impossible if he ends up being a bit more of an on-ball player later on. But early on, I expect him to be a good rotation player and leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, yeah, Yaxel is definitely a polarizing prospect. There's certainly many in the dynasty community that are not interested in drafting older players, and there's others who are quite comfortable with it. But you can't, I don't really think many of us can really deny the landing spot. Where do you fall on this spectrum, Noah, of older players versus younger players? Did this kind of steer you away from Yaxel at all? Is the landing spot convincing you to potentially come back here?
So I think at this point he is or was the best player available. I think if it wasn't for I think the Warriors kind of needing or like feeling like they needed more of a center, it would have been Yaxel was like the best player available. Being his age obviously is kind of, you know, a negative when you look at it. Like he's almost 24. Like some of these rookies, like Cam Boozer hasn't turned 19 yet. So like there's obviously a difference there, but he's still only 23, 24. Like he's still young. Like there's still many years where he's going to be a very productive NBA player. And the Warriors aren't exactly in this youth movement. Like these guys are old. They only have a few years left in their career. So getting the guy who's ready to step in from day one and make an impact makes a lot of sense. And I think the difference between Yaxel and, you know, the other guys that are his age that have been drafted, I know we mentioned Duarte and Dalton Connect, like he's far more productive and a more well-rounded, like statistical producer. So like it makes sense for Golden State. It also makes sense for fantasy basketball because this isn't just like Dalton Connect was a scorer. He was a shooter. Like he didn't really provide much else, but like Yaxel Lindenberg does a lot across the board. And I think with this Golden State team, he should at least play a bench role, like a significant bench role, but like could start depending on, frankly, health for a lot of these guys as well. Like Guy Santos was a guy that had a really strong finish to last season, and like Lindenberg could come in and take his minutes potentially. Like, I don't know. It obviously depends on health but a lot of guys that have had injuries in the past or injuries recently. So interesting spot, but I like it for both the Warriors and for fantasy basketball.
So for those of you who are wondering, I did hear from Mitchell, was not the most thrilled with the pick. He really wanted a Adai Mora. Maybe he'll come around on Yaxel eventually, but you know, Mara was his guy for a long time. So not the most happy with that pick. He used some colorful language in his message to me. But we
Mara passing to Steph Curry would have been a lot of fun. I would agree with that.
It would have been
awesome. A ton of fun.
Their two-man game in general would have been really fun stuff. Really, really fun stuff. So and there's a for Yaxel to fit too, but moving on now to OKC. The pick is in at 12, and this pick was obviously highly, you know, just like that Clippers 5th pick, this 12th pick by OKC was highly discussed in potential trade scenarios. Now we do still have Mara there, and I heard, you know, or saw talk of they want their Wemby answer, somebody who's big enough to at least offer size in comparison to Wembanyama. And OKC was in a precarious position where they needed to make room for these incoming draft picks. They did just send Aaron Wiggins to Atlanta. I did see that they did not pick up the team option on Kenrich Williams, and there's some other guys on team options, and perhaps they also were not picked up, and I just haven't seen that yet. So they maybe need to create one more roster spot. In this roster construction for the Thunder, Braxton, do you see a clear need for them right now? Do you think they maybe trade this pick? Like they have obviously a treasure trove of assets to work with.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that Kenrich Williams is not going to come back on this roster. There's no way they're going to run it with like 10 guys who are under 25 years old.
Right. They're gonna tear from Mark Dagnall's cold dead hands.
Yeah. So, you know, I think there's definitely some consolidation moves that need to happen for OKC. That's stating the obvious, right? And, you know, guys like Nikola Topic and Thomas Sorber, you know, are they going to be contributors, right? You know, they at this point, they've almost.
Oh, Silver's out. 1 second.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select Adai Mara from Zaragoza, Spain.
So, OKC has their potential Wemby solution. You were just talking about Thomas Sorber, Braxton, who missed all of last season. He is, you know, like a big man, power forward center, maybe a little bit of an undersized center. Isaiah Hartenstein is still currently there, but OKC is definitely in a position where they need to create cap space. So for you, Braxton, you think Hartenstein's potentially gone now?
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit more about this recently on an episode of the podcast. I think if Hartenstein was going to leave, the big winner would not have been Thomas Sorber. It was probably going to be Jalen Williams. But with Adai Mara coming in, to me, that could be an indicator that Hartenstein is, or I guess could be on the way out, right? And then trying to piece together his production from a combination of Sorber, Jalen Williams, and Adai Mara. Now, does Adai Mara start night one? Maybe not for a contending OKC team. You know, maybe it seems likely to me that it would be somebody like Jalen Williams, the center, not the forward one. But completely derail my train of thought. But anyways, the idea is that you can kind of piece together what Hartenstein was bringing you from, Sorber stepping on the basketball court, and then any additional production you can from Mara. And then you have that additional aspect you mentioned of that Wemby stopper, being able to have somebody out there with size. Jalen Williams wasn't going to get it done. Hartenstein clearly got played off the floor in the conference finals. There was nights when he was playing, load scenes of minutes, right? You just can't have that from somebody who's playing 30 minutes. And obviously it was a matchup thing, right? But if you're paying that much money to somebody, you need them to be, on the floor in the games that count, right? So I think this is a great spot for Adai Mara. Assuming Hartenstein is on the way out. I don't think he's necessarily the starter night one, but there aren't a ton of teams that you're able just to walk into a starting position. And Jalen Williams isn't the biggest hurdle to overcome in terms of becoming the starter. So.
I mean, I got to say, I do like the fit with OKC. They can at least protect him minutes wise. Like, he's not on a team that has a super barren front court where he needs to play a super heavy load. So if he is someone where his minutes are somewhat capped off on his first year, OKC can absolutely accommodate for that with their depth. And, we mentioned, a Steph and Mara 2-man game would have been super fun. Well, now it's the Mara and Shea 2-man game that we are going to be seeing on this upcoming season here. So
not the Mara and AJ Mitchell.
I mean, of course, I'm okay with that too.
Mara
and J-Dub, yes, exactly. So perhaps maybe it's Mara and AJ Mitchell coming out for the second unit and dominating. So you mentioned that 2-man game, Noah. How do you feel about the fit for Mara here in OKC?
Well, first of all, two things. Isaiah Hartenstein, you are an Atlanta Hawk. Two, could you imagine biggest day of your life? You get drafted to the NBA, and then everyone's like, "Yep, we drafted you to stop Victor Wembanyama." That's your reputation now. Whether you're a successful pick determines it's dependent on you stopping Victor Wembanyama. That's just unfair to him. But I think he is going to be able to step in and play an important role. Chet is obviously an incredibly talented player, but his one weakness is that he is skinny, and then Hartenstein isn't the tallest center. Thomas Sorber, still very excited about him, but having this guy that is this big and can just give them just another option to work with if they want to try out certain lineups, because he is a really good shot blocker, but he also is a really, really good passer, especially for a guy his size. So just another angle for OKC to dominate teams. It's the rich get richer. And then I think I was going to end up saying that line no matter who OKC took here, just because that's not OKC takes the right players. That's just probably what was going to end up happening. And I think but it definitely applies here.
Yeah, it definitely does. And apologies to Mitchell seeing his team not take Mara, and then the team after him, a Western Conference rival, went with him, and he's probably going to be a pretty good fit, or at least a really good weapon for them. What are your initial takes on this landing spot, Brian?
I expect Mara to be pretty good, especially in Degmon's system. I do not expect him to be able to stop Wemby. And one of the reasons why for that is that Mara is a very good drop big, but Wemby will just bring him out onto the perimeter and then just blow by him. Mara can't move like that. And so at the end of the day, Mara will probably be someone that will be the backup center and will probably play 18 minutes a night. That would be my guess. And he has never really shown an ability to play heavy minutes, even in college. So that's why I think the upside's a little bit lower. But if he does start and end up playing 30 minutes a night, he could be really good. But and also just to see what happens. Maybe there's something wrong with the injuries because he has not been cleared at this point. But we'll see.
Because I do really like Sorber, but that is a very interesting note that we have. It seems like we're going to wait a little bit longer to see him, because that's someone I would really love to see, in Summer League. He's someone, you would love to see him be that too good for Summer League guy. A lot of those sophomores kind of earned that title, but he, needs to get that experience in. So this pick for OKC, like I mentioned earlier, they definitely have the luxury of, they don't need to play him a super high amount of minutes. If they're going to cap it around 18 to 23, I'm quite certain that would work for them. So we move on to 13 now, and this was involved in the recent Giannis trade. So this pick now belongs to Milwaukee. They got Burries at 10. And I'm going to go back to you, Zach. I know you're not a Bucks fan, but your team probably does see them quite often. What do you think they're probably thinking about here at 13?
I think it's talent at this point. Certainly straying away from the guard position. Certainly would be the idea. It would be. I mentioned up top that it would be kind of a weird logjam. Potentially with how we're looking, it would be very much more so if they did take a guard. So I kind of think they're kind of leaning towards someone like Nate Ahmed. Swing for the fences. I mean, you already have this other pick. You just need talent in the door. Swing for the fences, see what happens. Add some more front court pieces. I mean, to me, that just seems like the right answer. And it's kind of why I mentioned earlier, like I thought Nate Ahmed would be the pick at 10. They just kind of need that heavy upside swing. So yeah, I think that's kind of what they're going to be looking at here is a forward piece.
Yeah, they're certainly in a position where the emphasis most likely needs to be you got to swing for the fences here. You don't have a whole, treasure trove of picks coming in over the next years. Those additional picks that they got from Miami are not until it's like 2031 and 2033 or something like that. And then the Bucks don't own their own pick until 2031. So they got to get it while they can here because there's not a ton of at least, high level reinforcements coming from the draft in the near future. Maybe they'll buy their way into the second round. Like the Lakers would usually do that. They bought their way into the early 30s to get like Max Christie or Adu Thiero last year. The Bucks might be able to do something along those lines to grab someone they like in the second round. But at least for right now, they kind of got to get it while they have the chance. And somebody like Nate Ament does represent, a bit of swing for the fences here. But looking at kind of who else is still out there, let me pull up our big board. Now, we do obviously have Ament is still out there. Definitely somebody that we expect to potentially get taken with this pick. Once my thing loads here, let's see. Carr is still there. Abuka Okori is still there. Philon is still there. Alan Graves. Steinbach is still there. Sturts, Lopez, Swain. Quaintance is still there. So a lot of potential directions that Milwaukee could go here. And this is just such a deep draft, in my opinion. Like, this is a really, really good draft. I think, especially in dynasty leagues, if you're in a deep dynasty league and you're picking somewhere in the teens, you're probably going to be really happy with where you're at because there is quite a bit of talent to go around. And especially for 9Cat, this seems to be a very talent-rich pool that we are selecting from here. For you, like for you, Braxton, do you kind of agree that the Bucks should take, think about like what the Hornets did in 2024. They were they pick 8 when they took Salon? So a lot of like the top tier guys there were gone and they just went for it. Well, we might as well swing for the fences at this point. Oh, wait, hang on. Hold that thought. Here comes Adam Silver.
NBA draft, the Miami Heat select Nate Ament.
Okay, so they go with Ament. Like, let's go back to what I was just asking you, Braxton.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the Hornets did in 2024. Like, how do you feel about a team when they're in this position, swing for taking the big swing on a high ceiling, pretty low floor player? Because this is a guy, think about like Riche last year, where like some of the percentages and things were really not something that we liked. A really low 2-point percentage also, for example. So at least for fantasy, it might not be too great. So how do you feel about teams when they take selections like this?
To me, it's not an awesome fantasy pick. And even if they let him go out there and kind of run wild, it's not going to be the most beneficial for your fantasy squad, right? You look at when Tijan Salon was getting minutes his rookie year for the Hornets, just to bring that comparison back. It just wasn't something that was helping you. The last year he kind of sat in the G League for a little bit longer, right? And then he'd come up and play some spot minutes, and he's getting better as a real NBA player. But somebody like Ament, I think is it's just a ceiling play, like you said. And I think there are going to be some people in dynasty drafts that reach for him because of the landing spot in Milwaukee and say, hey, there's so much opportunity on this Milwaukee team. With Giannis leaving town, they're going to give him so much leeway. But at the same time, I always tend to kind of go for the floor play over the ceiling play because there's a lot of factors to consider, right? It's like how many years of good floor play are you getting before you get that ceiling play from someone who is unlikely to reach like top 100 fantasy, like a top 100 finish, right? I forget where I was going with this, but anyways, from fantasy perspective, Ament is not somebody I'm super excited on. The landing spot is there's probably not that much better landing spots, especially with obviously Giannis leaving, but Bobby Portis leaving too, and then them looking to potentially dump Kuzma. I mean, there's a huge opening there at the forward slot. But yeah, I guess it just remains to be seen if he helps you.
I see.
It's funny, and I was actually having this conversation with Brian and a couple other people, but I almost would feel better about Ament if he went to like a loaded team, like to OKC or to San Antonio. I wonder so much about what that's going to look like for him in Milwaukee. Especially the pressure of this being the pick that they got from Miami in the Giannis trade. It's going to be something that people are going to definitely like compartmentalize and just kind of extrapolate on over time as the trade happens. Like whether he's good or he's bad or somewhere in the middle, he ends up being a fine rotation player. Like it's going to be something that carries a lot of the optics with it. And so for that reason, just like you said, Braxton, I'm right with you that this is going to be something that people want to reach on for that ceiling, for the fact that he has a very wide open range. So yeah, just something I wanted to note about that. I almost just feel better if he went to like a really good team where he was able to kind of be more defined.
And they've done like studies on that before, where sometimes these really good teams, like the rookie outcomes for them can at times be higher than those selected at the top end of the draft, just because they're taught like or forced to learn better habits. They don't have the leeway to do whatever they want on a winning team, such as OKC, who has title aspirations. Whereas as Braxton mentioned, the Bucks are going to kind of let Ament run wild, do whatever he wants, and hope that aids his development in some way. Brian, if you're in a dynasty rookie draft, what's the earliest you would consider Nate Ament?
I think it really is going to be highly dependent on what your team context is, but probably around 12 to 18 would probably be my best guess. But as for the pick, I think it's fine. Like I was expecting him to go higher to Milwaukee. I was expecting it to 10. The fact they took Burries at 10 and then waited and got Amen at 13. That shows a good job by John Horst and that not overreacting and getting a value play here. And at 13, I think it's fine. My only worry is that he is not going to be an efficient player, especially around the rim. He has never shown an ability to do that, even in high school. And I have said it over the years, more over this year, that he plays like he's Cam Johnson trying to be Kevin Durant, the bad outcomes are like Patrick Baldwin Jr. outcomes here. But at the end of the day, maybe it's more like Ricochet. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it'll be a good spot for him in the sense of he will have time to play through his mistakes, and that's probably what he needs. Because if he's on a good team, I'm not sure he'd actually play because I'm not sure the shooting's that good at the moment, or he's physical enough.
That's fair.
To handle those good matchups. So, I think it's fine. Well, he should not be starting, but he might, considering who they have on the roster right now. But yeah, overall, I think he would be a good pick if you're a middling team looking into a rebuild, or if you have a second first-round pick. I think an Ament would make some more sense. I just would not be expecting any star outcomes here.
Yeah.
All right. So noted on Ament, perhaps a cautious approach by I would say all of us in here. It seems that we're probably in agreement on that. But we peek in for Charlotte. They are the 14th overall pick. However, on the stream right now, I am seeing Shams talking, so I don't know if it's potentially up the trade. But before I step away for just a moment, I'm going to give you the floor, Brax, because you are a Hornets fan. I mean, if there has been a trade, definitely let us know. But if there hasn't been a trade yet, what do you feel like the Hornets need right now?
The big after the embarrassment in the play-in, the big talking point was the lack of size, right? I'm probably the biggest Moussa Diabate fan you're going to find. And I think he is a starting center for this Hornets team. But at the same time, when they play these teams that are super physical, oh my God, that Orlando game was just one of the most depressing games I've ever watched. I was so excited for the game. I was at a peak when the tip happened, and then just slowly sinking into my chair as the game goes on. But so size is a big need for them. And then another, just kind of the main area where they can improve is at the 4 spot, right? Miles Bridges is still there. Right. Obviously, he's the longest tenured Hornet. He's LaMelo's buddy. So to me, it's always seemed unlikely that they're going to move Bridges just to one, not necessarily just to appease LaMelo. I mean, he's a quite productive player as well. But him and Grant Williams, kind of that 4 rotation, there is like some room for improvement there. Salon seems like he might be able to potentially. Did we just get a trade? Oh no, did I just miss it?
No, no trade, but I mean the Hornets pick.
No
Okay.
trade, and I saw what the pick was. But,
we'll wait for it to get announced, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. But my screen flashed, and my heart dropped for a second. So Salon seems like he might potentially be playing a little bit more next season. So it's just that's kind of the main, that 4-5 range is really where that room for improvement is. If Grant Williams and Josh Green don't return, I know Josh Green isn't a 4, but that seems to be kind of the consensus of guys who might be on the way out, whether that's in a trade or some kind of manufactured move. That's where, some minutes will open up on this Hornets team, barring some kind of big trade for Sabonis or something like that. So that's where I'm at.
So the pick did happen while I was away. Did you guys find it out yet, or shall I let you know?
We're waiting on you.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Hannes Steinbeck was the Hornets selection at 14. So they did announce a trade, but all it was Silver coming out and saying Ament actually belongs to Milwaukee. So that was completely useless.
Okay.
So the Hornets went with Steinbach. So Braxton, to fill you in, this is the rebounding leader in all of Division I last year. Great scoring profile as well for a big man. And he is someone where maybe the stat set you can think of is like a better Raynaud. Raynaud was just a lot of points and rebounds last year and not much defense. And, Steinbach's not necessarily like the rim protector. Like, you guys just got Ryan Kalkbrenner last year. He's much more of that than Steinbach is, but this represents the more offensive oriented big man here and rebounding machine. So I know you guys already have Diabate and Kalkbrenner. Do you think there's more room for somebody in the front court in Charlotte, Brax?
I mean, I was just saying while you were away that I'm like the biggest Diabate fan you're going to find. This is a little bit concerning to me as far as his upside, in terms of the amount of minutes he'll play on a nightly basis, especially with Steinbach being such a strong rebounder. It's almost a pretty similar profile, not to when Diabate came in the league, but Diabate right now, right, where it's just he's an awesome rebounder. Now, if one of them can start shooting or knocking down some threes, that could be sick. Whether that's Diabate, Kalkbrenner, or Steinbach coming in and hitting threes. There was some talk about, Kalkbrenner shot a little bit from behind the arc in college, and there was some talk about him maybe trying it out later in the season. I think he ended up with 0 3-pointers on the year. I'd have to double check that. I'm just pulling that from memory. But in terms of attempted 3-pointers, I think Kalkbrenner was at 0. So that's another facet of his game to unlock. Diabate had some instances where he'd take an extra step or two out and take a longer two. So if he can start knocking down threes, there could be room for a couple of those guys to play together. And that kind of bleeds into what I was mentioning with, there being some additional need at the 4. I know now Steinbach isn't necessarily the heaviest guy, but that size is really what they were lacking. And having somebody who has been in the weight room and in addition to these other guys is going to be so huge for them in order to take that next step that I think they can. I mean, I literally thought if the Hornets get out of this play-in, they could make some noise in the first round. Obviously that wasn't the case, right? But it seems like they're like 1 or 2 pieces away from not winning a title, but like getting in the playoffs. So
making some more noise. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. I thought you guys were going to at least get past that first round last year too. Like that team was just so exciting. So adding some additional size probably is going to be a good thing. And I think, you mentioned of those bigs potentially going to stretch the floor. It might be Steinbach who's the most likely to make that happen. Let's go to you, Noah. What are your just thoughts on Steinbach as a prospect? Do you like him in Dynasty at all? Do you see potential shortcomings that you're worried about?
I liked him more. I don't necessarily love this fit. I think it does make some sense in the fact that he does some, I guess, different things than what Kalkbrenner and Diabate are doing. So they can kind of have they don't have to have, Mason Plumlee, I think, in there for a minute last year with the 3 big rotation. So I don't know. I did like the idea of Steinbach in a sense for fantasy, but I don't love this spot. Then again, I like Diabate more than Kalkbrenner, and Kalkbrenner, had his nice fantasy moments, but probably isn't the center of the future. And there's certainly questions. I don't think Diabate's penned in as the center of the future. So why not take another shot on it and add a guy that's a proven rebounder? Like, I don't hate it. I don't think it's my favorite pick for the Hornets here. And I'm a little concerned about how it looks for dynasty or like for fantasy, maybe in the short term. I think long term he could end up beating the other two out, but not if that's even what Charlotte wants to do. Like, they wanted to kind of split the minutes at center last year, so maybe that's what they want to keep doing, and it doesn't work out super well for fantasy.
That's a great point. Zach, where are you at on Steinbach as a prospect?
Yeah, interesting prospect. I've kind of gone up and down on him a little bit, just kind of throughout the cycle. I mean, best rebounder in the class, I think I think that's clear. I like to say the phrase tractor beams for hands. He quite literally does have that. I mean, he's such a good rebounder. And I think, for me, even at the points where I've been a little bit lower on him, it's hard to see him fully fail for that reason. I mean, he is just such a good rebounder, and there is the possibility to stretch the floor, which I really like with him. It really just comes down to the defense with me. He's had a lot of moments when he was at Washington where he was a very good defender. He had a lot of moments where it was pretty scary as far as, if he ends up being a starting center. So I think that's really just where the key is going to be. I think certainly with the combine, his measurements came in better than expected. He's going to be firmly, I think, somebody who can play the 5, can certainly play the 4, but also, functionally works at the 5. But yeah, it's really just the defense. I imagine Charles Lee and the staff is going to push him really effectively to be a better defender. But that's kind of what I'm monitoring mostly. Fantasy wise, though, no question. I do like him quite a bit for fantasy. And I imagine he will probably get picked within probably about this range, I guess I would say, for most of your dynasty drafts. So yeah, like him for fantasy.
Yeah, definitely. And there's not many center eligible players available in the top end of this draft. There's definitely some guys you can get later on, especially if you're in a deeper league dynasty, like a 30 team. But like on the top end here, or someone that's maybe considered like in the lottery or late lottery, just outside of it, he's probably the second one behind Mara, because I'm not sure if Yax was going to get center eligibility or not, or Morez either. Maybe, especially if Morez gets it, that would be a super ideal scenario. Now, the pick should be in here pretty soon for Chicago at 15. Now, we just saw this front court formed of Caleb Wilson and Nicholas Claxton. They have Modest Buzelis at the 3 as well. That's a lot of size right there. Trey Jones is still there. I feel like I think Anthony Simons is an unrestricted free agent. I feel like I've seen that it shows that on Spot Track, and then there's some people trying to show the Bulls lineup, and they keep including him in it. But I'm assuming that he's not on the team at the moment. I think Silver should be walking out just about any moment here for 15 overall. Oh, here he is.
With the 15th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select Dalen Swain.
Wow.
Oof. Wow.
Swain goes 15th overall to Chicago. Braxton, this is going to be one of your guys, a wing who theoretically does a little bit of everything. He was great getting to the rim. He is going to offer rebounds and maybe assists. It depends on what his role looks like in Chicago, because like I mentioned, seems like the 3, 4, and 5 is already pretty set in. Now, I remember back to our big board conversation, one of you two guys at Dizzle was pretty high on Swain. Which one was it again? Zach.
That's me.
You have the floor, sir. How do you feel about Swain in Chicago?
Yeah, I really like the fit. I think that's really a lot of fun. He fits so much of Bryson Graham's slap that he's aiming for. I mean, he checks so many of those boxes. He is going to be a really good player for them. I think it makes a lot of sense to have a guy like this, especially a kind of do-it-all wing. I think that is exactly what this team really needs. I really like the fit. I mean, I got nothing but good things to say about that. I mean, great finisher. I mean, some people would say elite. I'd say maybe I'm like a tinge under that. Borderline elite finisher. Shot is a work in progress. I do have some confidence that the Bulls have the right people there to tinker with the shot. I know some people who are higher on him think that he will be able to shoot. I also think that he might be able to shoot. I do think that's going to take a little bit of time, but I do think the floor, as of where he's at until he's able to shoot, is still pretty good. I mentioned that I've kind of seen him as a little bit of a Najee Marshall-esque player. I think that is exactly, like I said, what I think Chicago really needs here. So yeah, I really like this pick a lot. I think especially from a fantasy perspective, they could really do with a guy who can pass really well like he can.
What I will also say is Bryson Graham was with the Pelicans when they picked up Najee Marshall.
That's a great point. That's true.
And I was going to go to you next, Brian, because I feel as though when we were discussing Swain, I remember maybe a little pushback of where he was at on the big board. So are you, a little more restrained on your outlook for him?
I feel about the same. I think with Chicago, it does make quite a bit of sense, though, and I think it's a good fit at the very least, and I think you'll have opportunities to see if there is some on-ball equity there. I do worry a little bit about how he plays off of some players, and we'll see obviously how that goes. But I think this is a fine pick and a fine range for Jalen Swain, and as long as they have the right plan in place and don't try and miscast him, then I think he'll be fine. And I think Tiago Split will be a good coach for him. He's pretty creative, and as long as he's able to do that. And another thing that I actually kind of realized too is, Tiago was helping unleash Denny Abdia, and that's the high-end comp I've had for Swain this entire cycle. So, it could be interesting. I think they might have the right people in place for this one.
So, Braxton, elaborate on your infatuation of these jumbo pass, dribble, shoot guys. So, you heard it from the boys here. They're on board with the Chicago landing spot. Najee Marshall-esque type of player. What do you like about these guys in 9-cat?
Hey man, you're speaking my language. It just goes down to that counting stats thing where a guy like that is always going to have a floor, right? So, these guys who are one or two dimensional, and we've talked about Chet Holmgren at length, right? By no means am I comparing Najee Marshall to Chet Holmgren, but you look at these guys where it's okay. He's got 2 or 3 categories that he's good in. If he's not helping you in those categories, he's not helping you, period, right? But you look at somebody who can do a little bit of everything. Trying to rattle off some mid-range names off the top of my head. You got Bilal Coulibaly, Najee Marshall, these kind of wings who can do a little bit of passing, but they can shoot the ball, they can block shots, they can steal, whatever. They can help you from so many different areas on a nightly basis, right? So if they're struggling from scoring or they're struggling from, they're not getting the rebounds they need or no defensive stats on another night, they can pick up that slack in other areas, right? And somebody like Swain who is able to do that from any area, and then also on this bad Bulls team with the guy who, Josh Giddey is a perfect example of someone who is just, he'll have 19 assists one night, and then the next night he'll have 30 points, and then the next night he'll have 5 threes, that kind of thing. I think I love the idea of him on this Bulls team, and I think there's going to be lots of opportunity for somebody with his skill set, especially considering how many guards they were playing on a nightly basis last year, and also assuming that some of those guys leave in free agency, right? So there's just so many minutes available for somebody to come in and take. They had Lachlan Olbrich playing rotation minutes, I think, down the stretch last year. So we can move away from that, I think.
Very cool. Oh, one thing that's cool. Just saw AJ about to sign one of his rookie cards in person. That's awesome. Always cool to see stuff like that happen. I mean, especially with the card market, it's just such a commodity nowadays, and NBA is really the one that's, I would say, risen quite a bit in its value and significance. So seeing that right there, whoever gets that card, whether that's a one of one or not, that's going to be probably a pretty big win for you to get that AJ Advance card. I'm curious where some of these card valuations might be at this year. If we have any card collectors either in this chat right now or on stream with us right now. A few live viewers. First off, thank you for sticking with us through the draft. We got the Dynasty Avengers assembled here. So if you guys have any questions for us, whether if it is from a question about your own team or a question that has happened or about what has happened tonight, feel free to let us know and we will definitely answer it. I think Adam Silver should be coming out. Go ahead.
I was going to say we have a quick question, Brian, before this pick comes in. We got a question about where you're located right now. Could you shed a little bit light on your setup?
Wait, before you answer, here comes Silver. Before you answer, then I want to hear this, Brian.
2026 NBA draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Bennett Sturts from the University.
Can I butt in real quick?
Go for it.
This is actually being traded to the Thunder per Shams.
Sturts is?
his tweet is they're trading Bennett Sturts to the Thunder for 2 second-round picks. Now I have to imagine that means pick 17 and 2 second-round picks. But the tweet right now just says 2 second-round picks. I just like it has to be that he forgot to add in that also pick 17 is going there.
Oh boy.
There's no way we're trading 2 second-round picks for pick 16. It has to include pick 17.
So we're absolutely going to address this. First off, let's answer the question of Brian's location because we do have a comment. So we got to honor that. Let's hear it first, and then I feel like you're excited about Bennett Sturts. So you feel free to have the floor with him.
To answer your question, yes, I am in a closet, and now here's the thing: is that my setup, I am with like 5 different roommates, and it's just hard to get privacy for that amount of time. So I'm just in here. So
hey, we appreciate it.
I know it looks funny, but as for Bennett Sturts, I mean, I think this is a home run for the Thunder, who also like had interest in Ty Jerome. I still find it a little weird that like Memphis didn't keep his pick, considering Sturts is like the exact epitome of what they like. But I hope it's just 17 2 second-round picks and not just 2 second-round picks. And I imagine that Memphis probably has a target of 17. I don't know who it is, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is fantastic. This is unbelievable for the Thunder, who continue to accumulate ridiculously good assets. Like
it seems like it's just 2 second-round picks. That seems to
I was
be.
going to go back to you, Noah. Have you seen any updates? It's just second rounders?
I'm looking, but it's Shams hasn't corrected himself to say like
OKC is on the clock now as well.
They are. That's what I'm like. Typically,
like and I assume Silver's going to come out at some point and explain it, but
yeah, but there's no if no correction is issued,
right?
It's being widely reported now. It seems like that he's been moved for 2 second-round picks. And OKC is going to pick again.
Okay,
right
Shams just said Memphis will now draft 17.
Okay.
All right.
The Memphis Grizzlies are not that bad at business. We are good.
I assume one of those seconds was the one that OKC had in this draft because I think that was one of those ones where they were either trying to get rid of it or make space for it. Maybe that's one of the ones they sent here. But it was interesting to see them add another player in addition to another ball handler. You know, as far as we know, Topic is still on the team. They have, MVP candidate and Shea. J-Dub can handle the ball. AJ Mitchell is there. So you add Bennett Sturts into the fold for OKC here, and then we have Memphis picking at 17. So they got two first-round picks for their troubles. Maybe they didn't want Sturts. You know, as Brian said, he probably would have been a good fit for them. But just let's go to you, Zach. Sturts in OKC. How do you feel about this?
Jeez, I don't even know what to say. I definitely didn't think that OKC would take a guard. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, Bennett Sturts, great 9-cap player. I think that the game is all completely there for him. I think he's got a lot that he can offer there. Certainly makes it interesting now that he's in OKC. I'm not quite sure exactly where to come in with that. As far as a player, though, I mean, home run. It's a great fit. Great player. Fits exactly their culture, their identity, their on-court product. I mean, I think someone who can, shoot as well as he can pass, it's checks all their boxes. As far as how things kind of shake out there, that will be interesting to see. It's certainly, if they were going to take a guard, it's not quite the guard that I was anticipating. But yeah, I mean, great pick. I'm very much a fan of the pick and not at all something I saw coming.
So, I mean, obviously this is news for Nikola Topic. I mean, whoever wants to answer here, is there any Topic believers? Is there a grave amount of concern for him?
Yeah, I don't think that this is necessarily even that they're drafting with Topic really in mind. Not because he's like they're definitely not gonna have a plan for him, but it's like when you have all the assets they have, like at some point every pick you make, it's gonna make it. Like we were talking about it when they drafted Mara. It's like, oh, well, they have Sorber, they have Hardenstein, they have Holmgren. Like they have so many guys at every position that it's like no matter who they pick, it's going to be question marks for who's already on the roster. Like, that just makes sense. But when they got eliminated from the playoffs, it's like you didn't have AJ Mitchell, you didn't have Jalen Williams, and obviously you didn't have Topic. It's like there's so much on SGA's shoulders to be the primary ball handler, primary creator the entire time. He's phenomenal, but like you need extra options, especially in the playoffs when you're entering a game 7. So like just taking a player as solid as Sturts, I think that actually makes a lot of sense for OKC, even if it feels like a luxury pick, but that's pretty much what OKC is making at this point. So I don't think that this necessarily means that they are giving up on Topic, but it's like hey, we have an abundance of riches. Let's just try and get another guy who's incredibly talented, by the way.
Very much so.
This pick for what should be Memphis now at 17 is in, so we should be hearing from that soon. But we do have a question from Loose Change 7137. Thank you for your question. How does Zach Edey rank among this year's big men? So we can probably loop Morez into that conversation. So let's say Zach Edey versus Morez, Mara, Steinbach. That's who has been drafted so far. Maybe if you want to consider Yaxel in that conversation as well. I know you mentioned Edey earlier, Braxton. Do you still prefer him to some of the centers that we've been discussing today? Are you, is it someone where, I'm willing to, re-roll the dice on a different lottery prospect instead of Zach Edey?
Not really. I mean, I don't really think I would be looking to re-roll with Edey, especially I think Edey is one of those guys that is quite quickly turning into more valuable on your team than you'd get in a trade, especially with his continued injuries piling up. I mean, Memphis has for a while now said that he's a priority for them moving forward. He's a cornerstone of this team in the next, at least for the next couple of years. So I think a reroll is probably a little bit short-sighted, if that makes sense. I mean, I think re-rolling ensures you get the production at a later, like, what am I trying to say? You're getting the production you're looking. It takes longer to get that production. Whereas if you had Edey now, you get it. And then Edey's ceiling is probably higher than anybody you'd get in a reroll scenario. I mean, it's unlikely you'd be able to trade Edey for what? Anything higher than like 7th or 6th or something like that. It's unlikely somebody with a top 5 is trading for Zach Edey. Especially, considering in most cases, somebody with a pick that high has tanked to get there, right? So a lot of people don't want to tank and then just turn it into Edey. They want that home run, 19-year-old that they think can be a top 20 asset at some point, right? So as far as how he ranks up against these big men, I would say still pretty high. I think, I mean, I don't know if I have anybody above him besides like Boozer or Caleb Wilson, but in terms of trade.
Here comes 17. Let's do this, and then we'll come back to this conversation.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select Ebuka Okori from Stanford University.
Okori will be going to Memphis at 17. We will definitely.
No, he won't. They traded the pick again. This is actually going to Detroit. The Pistons traded 3 second-round picks to move from 21 to 17.
Wow.
Which I love.
Wow.
I love. I love.
Wow.
I'll just go ahead and
love that.
I'll finish that thought on Edey because I know there's a lot to talk about here with this trade. I think it would be. I think it's really difficult to value him. To have anybody besides like Caleb Wilson or Boozer above him, considering just that immediate impact that these guys might have. Maybe Morez Johnson could be up there depending on how much Dusty May plays him, but Edey is definitely at the top of this class in a draft scenario. So go ahead, Andrew, you can move on to it.
I mean, we got the trade update. We got Noah Wojnarowski working for us with the very, very timely trade updates. So this is insane news. Okori now going to Detroit. Detroit sorely lacked shooting. They also sorely lacked a second creator to help Cade Cunningham in many situations. We saw a lot of minutes go to Dennis Jenkins last year. So let's get some initial reaction to this trade, which is a bit of a doozy. Zach, how do you feel about this one?
I love this trade. When we do our first round grades that we're going to be posting, hopefully a little after midnight, this one's getting an A+ for me unequivocally. Like I can't think of a more perfect pick for them. Like adding a second creator, adding that shooting, someone with possible star-like traits as far as like a slasher, adding just another guard in general to that crew that just needs that. Perfect pick. I mean, like I seriously don't think there's like a better pick that they could have made right there. I love that to death. Fantasy wise, love it too. Really need to chew on that especially, but fantasy wise, love it. Real life, love it. I can't say enough good things. I love this.
Yeah, I think one of my comparisons for him was Dennis Schroeder. So, I mean, Detroit probably is missing Dennis Schroeder right now. So, I mean, it's just something. I unlike Zach, I'm probably a little more skeptical on this one. I think Memphis getting 5 second-round picks and down 5 spots is certainly a lot, and they're probably going to still get the guy they want. But I mean, I think for the fit wise with Detroit, I think it makes sense. I probably would go in the direction if I was Detroit. But at the end of the day, there is the star-like outcomes here where it could really work. I just am skeptical.
Noah, how do you feel about Okori? How are you viewing him in Dynasty, like in a rookie draft right now?
So I would have liked him a little bit more at a different spot. I think that this makes a lot of sense from a basketball perspective for the Pistons. Danius Jenkins was a guy I really liked, but obviously, like, he's not that level of talent that you want as like his primary, secondary creator. Like, fair to say, like the primary creator when Cade Cunningham's not on the floor, like he's not that type of creator. But I think Okori can be. He was a guy I'll probably have him a touch lower just because he isn't landing in a situation where he's like the point guard of the future, but he's landing in a situation where he's going to be really valuable. And I think he's incredibly talented. And he was on a really, really bad team last year and still was able to create his own shot whenever he wanted. And I think that's something that's going to be really valuable for the Pistons. So from a dynasty perspective, but really, really like it for the Pistons.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a strong agreement that this is what the Pistons absolutely needed. A very, very special scoring talent, especially for a freshman. And even then, like a pretty undersized freshman. And he was able to make a lot work during this past season with Stanford. So one of the most out of left field things that has happened so far today. I mean, obviously we're still feeling the kind of the shock of that Giannis trade yesterday, but in terms of draft pick being moved, that's a big one right there. That is a top player in the East going out and getting somebody that they really need. So we have about a minute or so until the pick will be in for Charlotte, and there should be some formalities there before Silver comes out. So we'll go to you for what you want upcoming here, Braxton. But I do want to pose this question to one more. I think I'll pose it to you, Brian, just really quickly. Rank these 5 players for your preference for me in Dynasty. Zach Edey, Mara, Morez, Starbuck, and Yaxel.
I would still take Edey 1 just because I think the fantasy upside's too big. And then I'd probably go Morez, Steinbach, Mar. What was the last one?
Yaxel.
Yaxel? Yeah, Yaxel's last.
Okay. All right. So we've got the question answered twice, and both are the same that Edey is on the top. So there you go, loose change. You would still value Edey the highest among the other big men in this year's class. I do think I would agree with that. And also to Braxton's point, you'd get more from him just producing for your team than you would in a potential trade. So you might as well just stick with him. So we have that Okori pick. That was a big one. Braxton, with Charlotte coming up once again, we'll see if they trade this. They didn't trade the first one, and they went with Steinbach. So they just added another big man to the fold. Now, I can tell you that there is a very exciting scoring guard. The Baron Philon's still there. I know you guys just got Kobe White. There might be a lot of similarities there, at least in terms of what they can do for your squad. Probably the best wing on the board, maybe arguably the best player on the board, Cameron Carr, is still there. 6'5", 6'6" guy with a 7-foot wingspan is still there, Braxton. Alan Graves, someone who is kind of like a metrics darling to many, is still available as well. A wing with good size and shooting. How do you feel about the options available to you, and what direction do you want Charlotte to go in for this second first if they haven't traded it?
Yeah, I think size is going to continue to be the big thing for Charlotte. You know, I mentioned earlier Josh Green and Grant Williams kind of being those main areas of improvement for the Hornets. And that's not a take that's unique to me, right? But with Steinbach, the first one, that could be looked at as, okay, maybe that's trying to improve upon Grant Williams, as well as some size in the front court. I would expect him to kind of continue that trend, to take a larger maybe 4. Looking at maybe Kareem Lopez, I think that could be an interesting pick.
Here we go.
Oh, okay. Pick in the 2026 NBA draft, select Christian Anderson Jr. from Texas Tech University.
Whoa!
Wow!
All right, Rex, you guys just got another point guard. Okay. One of the better shooters in this draft, an excellent creator. I mean, if we're talking, fantasy upside, he was one of the best assists per game guys in this draft class. I think he was somewhere around 8 assists per night. So a playmaker, a floor stretcher, but a little undersized, doesn't really get to the rim. So they went the opposite of what you were talking about. You mentioned size. Christian Anderson does have floor spacing and playmaking. both in very, very high, very, very good levels, I would say, for both of those things. So how do you feel about getting a new both shooter and probably like should be viewed as like a backup point guard because you still have LaMelo Ball?
Yeah, I really nailed that one, huh? I think it kills whatever value was clinging onto life for Trey Mann. I think the dream is dead there if it wasn't dead already. I mean, him being out of the rotation, I think. But this probably takes any potential minutes that you would see out of Trey Mann. He was getting kind of some spot minutes down the stretch there. It could be bad for Sion James as well. I anticipate Sion to remain in rotation just because he's such a glue guy. But it seems like they want to have Kobe White continue to kind of be not necessarily the main ball handler, but be kind of that streaky scorer, just like an elevated Colin Sexton. I really like Colin Sexton on the Hornets last year, just a better version of him, right? So not necessarily having him being the distributor when LaMelo was on the bench. And we've seen before throughout the year last year, Charles Lee is not afraid to bench LaMelo if it's needed, right? So having somebody that can step in and distribute the ball and handle it, and give these passes where they need to go outside of somebody like Kobe White, I think is going to be huge for them. Backup point guard has been really, really a huge issue for them for like 10 years. It's been a long time since they've had a good backup point guard. You go back all the way back to like Jeremy Lin in 2016 when they had a decent backup point guard. Maybe this is finally the one that does it. And from a fantasy perspective, probably a decent floor guy. I mean, you come in and expect him to get drafted or to play in the rotation as this backup point guard. And, in a like a 30 team scenario or, a 24 team, like a deeper league like that, I think there's no issues taking him kind of in that 18, 19, 20 range when okay, we're going to get these assists from him and there's potential for more. Maybe he plays his way onto the floor. Next to LaMelo, we saw LaMelo and Kobe White play together at times, right? They're not afraid to have 2-point guards. Maybe they go 3-point guards. LaMelo's big. He can't defend much, right? But Charles Lee has shown a propensity, a willingness, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at, to experiment with lineups. You saw Diabate and Kalkbrenner play together at times. So Charles Lee is willing to do what it takes to win within the context of each individual game. So I really like Christian Anderson as a floor play with a tad of upside, but don't expect him to turn into like a top 100 asset unless there's a huge change of scenery. There's probably higher upside guys in the range that you're drafting in and where he'd be available. So if you're a contender or somebody that's looking to compete now, definitely somebody you want to grab. But if you're tanking or rebuilding or whatever it is, you probably would want to look at somebody who has the potential to grow into a bigger role.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking systemic fit, what the coach and what the philosophy of the Hornets has been recently, like look at like LaMelo most specifically, but even Con Kneppel as well. But most specifically with LaMelo, we saw improvements out of him last year, but we also saw a much higher 3-point attempt rate and really not much of a rate getting to the basket as much as he used to. It's a big focus of the Hornets is, having guys that are flying all around the perimeter and shooting threes. And so if that's what Anderson's job would be and not necessarily, let's say, getting to the rim, maybe creating for others and shooting a ton for the perimeter, it might work. Let's go to you, Brian. How do you feel about Christian Anderson for Dynasty moving forward now that we know it's in Charlotte?
What I will say is that I think if it does work, it's going to take a little bit. So I would probably be willing to let him slide a bit in Dynasty rookie drafts and then reacquire him in a few years if it's really going to work. By all accounts, great kid, great human being, really hard worker, fits really well in that offensive system and wants to defend. And I think ultimately that's the key. What I will say with the upside is that he is the same age as these like freshman point guards that went in the top 10. Like, he's really young still. And he was unbelievably good at Texas Tech this year. And might be the best shooter in the class. We'll see. But might be the best shooter in the class. Really good passer in the pick and roll. Can use screens pretty well. Like, I think this one makes some sense. I can see why Charlotte really liked him. And I can see a world where Charles Lee plays him early on. But at the end of the day, this is like a sneaky... This could be like a sneaky upside play for contenders because it wouldn't stun me if he ends up turning into like a Peyton Pritchard. It really wouldn't. It's more just a play on like how patient are you willing to be and how patient is your league. If it's very reactive, I wouldn't worry with Christian Anderson, and I would just get him later on if you're really interested. But if it's a patient one, then maybe you do play it. Maybe you do get it on him a little bit earlier and take a swing on the. He's pretty young. He's improved a lot, especially over the past year. But the first year at Texas Tech to where he was that sophomore year is night and day difference. And at the end of the day, I feel really good about having him in that he's not gonna do anything stupid and just be a really smart player to have, especially as a third point guard on like those really deep dynasty teams. Especially giving your league like the fantasy upside is there. It's just really capped by the situation. And so maybe LaMelo misses games and Christian Anderson ends up playing 25 minutes a night.
Here comes pick 19. One moment.
Okay, go ahead.
Alan Graves from Santa Clara University.
All right,
Yeah,
Brian, want to finish that thought? Then we'll move on to Alan Graves at 19 to
I'm not
Toronto.
giving you on to Alan Graves now. That
right.
was the floor for Graves. That was the floor. So yeah. I'll just I not my type, not my cup of tea, but at the end of the day, it could really work. Like it could, but he could splice the floor. It's just he is not as good of a defender as the.
You talking about Graves now?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm talking about
he
Graves
is.
now. Okay, because yes, BPM crazy, young. I get it. Plays out of position on defense all the time. And he plays like Tari Easton on defense, but without the athleticism. And that's what makes Tari good on defense. So I think it, like I said, I've had my thoughts pretty clear, especially on angles and like pun intended and whatnot. Like I'm wondering if it's just like Dean Wade. But at the end of the day, the fans is really good there, and Toronto isn't afraid to play these guys. So in Dynasty, if you want to take them top 10, like cool. I'm not gonna fight you on that. I just think that's probably a reach.
Yeah. And the upside he's referring to, like, he did come off the bench for Santa Clara, and so his minutes weren't as high as you would expect someone like, Anderson, who was just drafted, was, on the floor majority of the time. So Graves did put up, 40% from three and did have an extremely high steal rate, especially for a player of his size. It's just, are we falling, for what we're seeing on the stat sheet? And does it also pass in regards to the eye test? Let's go to you, Noah. What are your thoughts on Alan Graves and as well as this landing spot in Toronto? Are you with, the upside viewers of him or a little more skeptical like Brian is?
Well, I am, because in our Devi league, I took him with the 5th pick, I think. The few picks after that, I was like, honestly, I should have done a better job scrolling through just seeing who hadn't been taken yet. The only one I was upset, I was like, I probably should have went with Okori. But I like Graves, and like obviously it's the statistical profile that you have to like. I'm just like, why Toronto? Like, I mean, they got Colin Murray Boyles, they got Scotty Barnes. Like, they gotta take Alan Graves too. Like, come on, give someone else the like power forward that's an analytical darling to a different, just like one of them to a different team. Because I don't know, they'll probably try and make it work, but like all those guys can't all be on the floor at the same time, right? Like they might try it, but I don't know, man. I definitely was more on board with this without knowing the landing spot, just because the statistical profile was so intriguing. Yeah, not a fan of the landing spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of wing depth in Toronto. So are you how are you feeling about that landing spot, Zach?
So I questioned the Colin Murray Boyles fit last year, and I was wrong on that. I want to give this one a little grace. We'll see. I mean, there's been people, especially a lot more of the statistically inclined people who really like Graves, who have kind of said he's a little bit of like a bizarro version of CMB, which I don't see. I'm kind of more in the Brian camp of saying he's something like maybe a Dean Wade or maybe a Dorian Finney-Smith variant. I'm interested, though. I think if there's one team that is going to find a way to make something like that work with the caliber of guys that they have, especially, Scotty Barnes, CMB, like it's probably Toronto. I mean, Darko has been very creative with the lineups he's been able to deploy. I think certainly, like defensively speaking, this could be a really interesting wrecking crew with CMB and Graves. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm also a little skeptical just in general, and I probably will be a little bit lower than most folks in my dynasty drafts. But yeah, I'm certainly intrigued. I think like there is a couple leaks where I could justify a little bit of a swing here, especially if you really want to buy the upside. Because like Brian said, if it works, it really works, and he could be really, really good for fantasy.
Definitely, definitely. So we do have a question from DanBack714. What's up, Dan? Any chance Lopez slides to the Lakers? So we are now at pick 20 on the clock for San Antonio. This is a great question, and this would be my, if I pose the question to myself, who do I hope the Lakers get? What's our need? Obviously, you want rim running bigs, athletic wings, and shooters around Luka. Athletic wings would be the box checked off if the Lakers manage to get Kareem Lopez. Now, there is still some players who most big boards have higher than him remaining. Phylon is still there, and Cameron Carr is still there. So perhaps we get to pick, 22 or 23, and Lopez hasn't gotten taken yet. But then I'm going to start to get a little bit worried because he's probably going to be best available on the board at that point. So I would absolutely love the Lakers to get him at 25. There is still a good chance, especially, playing in LA, being the best Mexican prospect ever to come into the NBA would do absolute wonders from at least a perspective of what he would do like for himself, like marketing wise, sponsorship wise. He would be absolutely adored by the LA fan base. I can for sure see that happening. So I would love that. I think there's a little bit of a chance for it to happen. And there, he is probably within the top 3 of this big board that's of the players that are remaining. So there's certainly some risk that he doesn't make it to us. Like, for example, Noah's Hawks at 23 could potentially take him away from us at 25. Even maybe San Antonio at 20. It's totally possible. And I think that pick should be happening pretty soon here. Very curious to see what San Antonio does after losing the finals. Like, is there a glaring need that they have on their roster at this moment? Is there just, maybe some additional defensive backup? Like a rumor I saw, what if they got Jaden Quaintance? Now Quaintance is playing on the same front court that Victor Wembanyama is in. Like, Brian, do you see a specific glaring need for the Spurs here, or are they just going to go best available?
The needs for the Spurs are not something they're going to find at pick 20. So I think they just go best player available. I would watch Kareem Lopez here. I don't know for sure. This is speculation, but I would watch this one. If he falls past the Spurs, then I think it could get interesting if he makes it to the Lakers. But Quaintance would make sense. I just don't think they're going to do it. And I mean, we'll see. Cam Carr would make a lot of sense on this team as well. So there's a lot of ways they can go. There's not a Carter Bryant, what the heck? How did you get that guy falling player right here? So I'm not as concerned about that. But as someone who had Bryant at 8, but at the end of the day, they'll be fine.
Yeah, and I agree. They probably aren't going to plug the biggest hole in the roster with who is available right now at pick 20. So it should likely just be a best player available scenario. And yeah, there is probably some serious concern that they go Lopez here because they have room or time to wait for his development. I think he's someone who probably might make a little bit more of an impact right away than some might think, just given the tools that he has, but he might be kind of a low floor player as well. I kind of see him in that vein because there is some other things, especially his jump shot, that we want to see develop. And I talked about this with on the Locked On podcast. He was someone who was a complete non-shooter coming into the NBL, and then got to the point where he attempted some off the shooting while off the dribble from 3. So that type of development is something that you want to see, and hopefully it goes farther. We have Silver with the Spurs pick. Let's go.
NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Jaden Quaintance from the University of Kentucky.
Wow. Okay.
The nightmare front court has been realized. It is possible now for Jaden Quaintance and Victor Wembanyama to be on the floor simultaneously. Braxton, I'll get you up to speed. Quaintance is kind of like a Time Lord type of prospect, like a super crazy freak athlete, defensive monster type of idea is what we're looking at here. That's what the Spurs just landed. Noah, do you like Jaden Quaintance for Dynasty?
I think the only thing to not like about Jaden Quaintance for Dynasty is the knee issue. If this guy was healthy, I think he was in at least close to top 5 talks preseason. And then obviously he played 4 games, and now there's a lot of questions, but he's not 19 yet, which is also wild because it's he's younger than almost everybody that's already been drafted. I think it's a good fit, obviously, in San Antonio because it's a team that's good enough that if they just need him to just sit there for a year or two and say, "Yep, like get your knee healthy," he'll be 21 and maybe even still 20. Like, I don't know. It's a really good fit. It's obviously a very long-term play, but this is an incredibly talented player that can be there next to Victor Wembanyama, play next to him or just back him up, whatever they need him to do. So a lot to like. I mean, he doesn't necessarily in this spot have that like huge upside, but that was probably not really going to happen with the knee issue, where he's going to step into a role with a team where he's like a permanent monster starting next season. Like, it's going to take time for him to probably get fully healthy, but he's so young that he has time. So it's, I don't know. It's a great pick.
And Mitchell, who's been commenting on the stream as well, is adamant, and he's been adamant in some previous tweets as well, that the Spurs needed their Luke Cornett replacement, and he thinks that's what they got in Clayton. So maybe he has a counterpoint to what you mentioned, Brian, that they won't fill a specific need at 20. I think he feels that they filled that specific need with Clayton's because he wanted a better option than Luke Cornett. I think Cornett might still have another year or two on his contract. I'm not 100% sure on that, but let's go to you, Zach. Where's Dizzle at on Jaden Clayton's for Dynasty?
Yeah, Noah pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I really like the fit. Makes a lot of sense. I think what you said definitely echoes the clearest, Noah, is like, this may be a situation, especially, this pick for the Spurs is them telling him, hey, take a year off, get your knee right. Take some time just to develop. I mean, that's certainly what he needs, especially in the offensive end, is I think the offensive development is going to be key for him. I think in terms of especially hitting the high outcomes. But even just what he is and, when he is healthy as this, elite defender. I mean, I'll say it, like, I think he is like an elite defender. I think that's exactly what the Spurs need, especially somebody who could just come out and just, wreck with Wemby. I mean, that's a dangerous duo right there. That's a lot of length. That's a lot of great size. Tons of fluidity. I mean, Jaden Clayton's, hopefully when he is healthy, he has all that same athleticism and fluidity that he had. Because, I mean, what he was doing at 17 years old at Arizona State was pretty wild. So I'm hopeful for this. But I quite like the pick. I think what makes this interesting is going to be seeing his ADP in Dynasty. I think, especially if this is going to be a situation where he does sit for a year, this could be a guy that you end up buying for cheaper, like 6 months, 9 months, a year from now, potentially. So I'm a bit interested. I would imagine for most people, he probably, categories league specifically, he probably will go around the similar range if I had to guess. Maybe you'll be able to buy a little lower, or if you want to re-roll, spend your 2027 first. It's like kind of on the later side. You could give a shot to him. But yeah, I think it could be an interesting pick for sure. I'm definitely interested to kind of find out. But yeah, big fan of this one for sure.
Braxton, where do you go about? Go ahead. Oh, okay.
Braxton, I will eat my words of 5 minutes ago.
Braxton, where do you go about in regards to valuation of, like, I essentially think of Time Lord, permanent monster, super, sky high defensive ceiling, pretty big durability concerns. I mean, he's only been hurt, this last year. Obviously, with Time Lord, we've seen Robert Williams, for those of you who don't know, we've seen multiple injuries over the year. But let's say, we're looking at the first round of a deep league dynasty draft, 1 through 30. Where are you comfortable taking a prospect from that kind of like build and background?
Yeah, we're getting to the point in a fantasy draft now where, the high floor, high upside guys are long gone, right? So at this is the range where it starts to, you see like these older prospects or the high floor, low ceiling prospects kind of fall, that 18, 19, 20 range, or, injured guys like in the case of Jaden Clayton's. Zach, I loved your idea of potentially trading a later 2027 pick for somebody like Quaintance, where you're almost making that pick early, right? He's right. If he returns at some point this year, awesome. If not, you've got a healthy assuming hopefully healthy Jaden Quaintance at a discount a year early, right? Because if he was healthy now, he probably wouldn't have been taken at 20. So I love that idea, especially if you're a contender and can afford to have somebody kind of sit on your bench, or if there's minor slots or taxi slots, whatever you may have on the platform you play on. I think it makes a ton of sense to grab Jaden Quaintance. Now, on the other hand, I think a tanking team might be incentivized to kind of reach for Jaden Quaintance, right? So I think a lot of it depends on your league context and who is picking in this late lottery, 15, 16, 17 range. Because if you have an owner who's constantly taking 18-year-olds and just trying to build a winning team of 21-year-olds, which, as we know, is not possible, right? You might see him, I need to grab this 18-year-old this 18-year-old guy. He has sky-high upside. Whether or not that's the case, remains to be seen, right? But he does probably have more upside than guys in this range. So a lot of it depends on league context as well. It could go either way.
Here we go for 21, boys.
2026 NBA draft. The Detroit Pistons select Kareem Lopez.
No! No! Damn it! No! All right. If you wanted to finish that thought in a second here, Zach, but this was Memphis at 21. They have accumulated 5 second-round picks to move from 16 to 17 and now 17 to 21. So finish that thought that you were about to say, and then you have the floor on Kareem Lopez landing in Memphis.
Sweet. Okay. The quick thing I was just going to say on JQ is he's really just going to be, especially if you are kind of a risk taker in your leagues, that is somebody that you're going to go for. If you are somebody who is a little bit reactionary, a little bit worried, especially about guys who have these like injury histories, propensity to get hurt again, definitely not your type of guy. If you are somebody who is willing to take the risk, though, by all means, there is a good chance that maybe he is just somebody who is often injured, or there's a chance that he ends up being fine. It's just kind of it's really just your flavor of risk is what I wanted to say on JQ. So draft him at your own risk is what I'd say. On Kareem Lopez, though, great process by Memphis to move down like this. They picked up 5 first-round picks just to move down.
5 seconds, yeah.
Or 5 seconds. I'm sorry, 5 seconds. So I quite like that process. I think that's really good work by them. And it's a good spot for him for sure. They could definitely do with his skill set. I think having him in Memphis is going to give him a lot of good time. Their development staff is going to be very good for his type of skill set. I feel like this pick, it is a really good developmental swing. I've been a little lower on Kareem Lopez than Brian and as well as James, our other Dizzle Dynasty writer. But I do really like this pick. I think this does encourage me a lot more to take him, especially kind of a little bit higher, maybe like mid-late 10s is kind of where I'm feeling right now. Definitely like the pick. It's a really good process by Memphis and really good fit.
Yeah, we had, a lot of thoughts about what was going to happen potentially with that Memphis pick. We mentioned like, is Mara going to be in trouble here or something along those lines? This is, of course, with Cameron Boozer now arriving. So they did make that pick. So now we have a front court that's got Boozer. They've got Santi Aldama. That's what I meant. I think I said Mara, which is another Spanish guy. No, Santi Aldama. They got Zach Edey in town. Now they add Lopez, who is kind of like a small forward, power forward. Body type of like, the on the bigger end, like a Rui Hachimura type of body type or an Aaron Gordon, not one of those skinnier wings like Carr is. Lopez is a pretty big boy. How do you feel about Lopez in Dynasty, Brian?
I think he'll just be a rock solid player. Will probably be more valuable in 9-cat, but will also not be amazing in any specific category. I think really good cutter, potential to shoot it, pretty theoretical. Honestly, kind of reminds me a bit of the Zaire Williams pick, but definitely a bit later on. So I think I can stomach this one a bit more. Definitely developmental piece. I think he could play really well off of Boozer and that passing. Overall, like pretty solid pick. Probably won't be the most exciting fantasy player regardless. And he's probably someone I'd be okay missing on. And then if I want him later on, pick him up for a couple second-round picks because that's typically how dynasty managers roll. But I think there's definitely some potential to be like the Najee Marshall, Aaron Wiggins type of player where he's like good and maybe just underutilized. But at the end of the day, this is someone that I think will be a rock-solid player at the end of the day if it works.
Yeah. So I am sad that my Lakers unfortunately didn't get him. And to go back to your question, Dan, if you Lakers fan, obviously Phylon or Cameron Carr would be best case scenario here, but there is still a couple more picks until we're on the board. And speaking of Phylon and Carr, Noah, your team is up soon, and I'll just ask you: are you kind of surprised that Phylon and Carr are still there?
I had one of my friends text me like 5 picks ago, and he was like, "We need Phylon, Carr, or Jaden Quaintance," and I said, "Well, top 2 aren't going to be there." I said, "Maybe Quaintance, but there's no way that Phylon or Carr are going to be there." Very interested to see who the Sixers take, because I mean, Phylon's a guy I didn't expect to be there. 23, same thing with Cam Carr. I think they're too talented to pass up, even if it's not really the position that I would have been targeting. But I think you just kind of go best player available. I don't know. Just very surprised that they're interested to see who the 76ers take. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, 76ers at 22 are in kind of a precarious situation here. I mean, they have, Tyrese Maxey as the lead guard. They still have Embiid. VJ Edgecombe was an excellent selection by them last year. So, I mean, it's the question, maybe some more wing depth. I think, is Quentin Grimes an unrestricted free agent? Is he fully gone, or is there any type of restriction tied to him? I think he's
unrestricted, because I think he signed the qualifying offer.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a hole at the wing spot, so maybe they go with Cameron Carr here. But, maybe they want some backup creation out of Phylon. That's a possibility. But I think if you look more into the Sixers roster, the pretty glaring need is probably in the wing spot. I would say here, maybe some more shooting around the guys that they have. So we will keep an eye on that. The pick is in, but Adam Silver is not out yet. So we will make sure to get back to that as soon as he does come out. But yeah, quite a surprise to see Phylon and Carr still here. You would think somebody like Carr would have gone a lot earlier. However, we were pretty adamant for a long time now that we expect Carr's value to be in real life, maybe around this range, and then in Dynasty, we're going to value him higher than that. There was some big boards, especially in their most latest versions recently, where Carr did creep up. So it's like, okay, big boards for what they expect to happen in the draft are starting to predict Carr closer to the lottery, where he was in the 20s majority of the time. But now he has officially fallen to the 20s. So I guess this is a bit more on the line of what early big boards were more expecting. But there is definitely some good potential landing spots for him here, and Philly might be one of them. I think Silver should be coming out. Yep, here he is.
With the 22nd pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select LeBaron Phylon Jr.
Okay.
There you go.
Phylon is now a Philadelphia 76er. I mean, this is one of the better, like the backcourt depth of just scoring and creation between Maxey, Edgecombe, and Phylon is looking pretty deep now, especially because Edgecombe adds that defensive fold, whereas, Maxey and assumedly Phylon are going to be more offensive oriented. Now, so there were some people that had him pretty high in their dynasty big boards. I'll bring this question to you, Zach. Is he kind of tumbling down your big board now on maybe a little bit more crowded backcourt in Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting question to see about that. I would say in general, he's going to drop a little bit for me. That is definitely a crowded area. One thing I will say, though, is I think Philly tends to not overthink their picks very, in an effective manner. Like, Jared McCain, they took him. It was the right pick, even though they ended up trading him. BJ Edgecombe was the right pick. What's that?
I was just saying they sold high on Jared McCain.
They did sell high on Jared McCain. They did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, they tend. But I don't know. I think I still like the fact that it is the 76ers does make me feel a little more comfortable still taking him. He's certainly going to probably be more in like my mid-late 10s, I guess I would say at this point. But I do feel comfortable still taking him. It is a little bit crowded, but one of the things that I do like about this is Philly can add some more scoring off the bench. They really struggled to score off the bench last year. So I think immediately this does give a good spark plug for them. I do kind of just question some of the fantasy upside, especially long-term in general. But I do like the talent. I'm willing to trust the talent here, even if you can get him a little bit lower, like I will have him a little bit lower. I still buy the talent for sure. So I'm definitely interested to see how this one pans out.
Very good. And before we continue this conversation on Phylon, we're a little bit past halfway. We're now in the 20s range, so good time to kind of just plug where our content's going to be coming out here soon. So I'm assuming a lot of us in here are going to be coming out with updated Dynasty big boards, probably after tomorrow, because we still have a whole second round of the draft that will be taking place tomorrow. So especially for deep league Dynasty players, they will want to see how that all shakes out. But to you really quickly, Zach, where can everybody find Dizzle Dynasty's content for when when do you guys plan to have an updated big board out?
Yeah, primarily you can get our content at dizzledynasty.substack.com, as well as our Twitter, which is at Dizzle Dynasty. That's where we post everything. That's where you'll find our big boards first and foremost, all of our rankings, and believe me, we've got a lot of content coming over the next couple weeks. The draft grind does not stop after tomorrow. We've got a lot of updated boards, a lot of fantasy stuff, a lot of dynasty stuff, summer league thoughts. We've got a lot coming. So yeah, at Dizzle Dynasty, pretty much everywhere, and Substack.com or Substack.DizzleDynasty.com.
And then Brian, give them your Twitter handle as well as anything else you're working on that they want to make sure they don't miss.
Same as the Dizzle Dynasty content.
All right, very good, very good. Where can everybody find your work and your soon-to-be released updated big board?
Yeah, so you can just follow me at NoRubin22. That's where I'll post everything I do. I'm gonna have 4 Roto World best available second round targets. I'm gonna do that before I go to sleep tonight, so that'll be available so you can see who's still there. Then updated rookie big board or / dynasty ranks will be posted after second round tomorrow, and then updated dynasty ranks overall later this week, as well as bringing back the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball podcast after not doing much of it for like the past 6 months or whatever. And then, yeah, the rankings will be on Dynatize, and I think might actually also be on FBI Basketball. So kind of different places where you can find those.
All right.
But yeah, if you just follow me, I'll tweet everything out.
Very good. Very good. Shout out to FBI and shout out to Dynatize as well. Braxton, question to you about Phylon. How do you feel about an offensive-focused guard getting added to the mix for the 76ers? Do you think this is someone who can be viable for us in fantasy right away, or are you concerned about, Maxey and Edgecombe already being there?
It sounds like they should have just kept Jared McCain to me. I mean, it seems like he's going to just fill the role that McCain was or should have been filling. I don't know what Morey was thinking in moving him just to take somebody like Phylon to have him backfill that kind of role. I think there is an opportunity there for him, especially if somebody like Grimes leaves in free agency. Not that they're necessarily the same type of player, but there is going to be some usage up for grabs. The corpse of Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon may still be lingering around for the Sixers next year. We'll see what happens. But not that those guys are playing a ton of minutes anyway, but there definitely is some guard minutes up for grabs. Maxey doesn't scare me too much. I mean, you got to have other people who can handle the ball, right? Maxey can't play 40 minutes every night. And then when Embiid is out of the lineup, we saw numerous guys step up at various points during the season last year, right? Dominic Barlow being one of them of note. So I think there definitely is some potential for upside here, and the landing spot does not scare me much at all.
All right, very good. So some of the pretty much best available names still here. Cameron Carr is still here. Then we're getting towards guys like maybe Sinak, Ejiofor, Visar are some potential names that might go here. De La Reyes is still out there. Malik Thomas and Isaiah Evans are people likely viewed to be drafted in the first round in real life. Another guy that was talked about on some big boards fairly high was Joshua Jefferson. Coming in at number 23 overall, Noah, your Hawks are on the clock. I don't see Adam Silver out there yet. So, do you have, from a Hawks fan perspective, do you have a guy in mind that you really hope they pick here, or a positional need?
I mean, not super passionately like that. I have like a guy for sure. Like one of the bigs, I'm a huge Sinak fan, but maybe one of the other bigs, obviously Cameron Carr sliding this far has me a little bit intrigued. I don't know. Adam Silver is walking out on my screen right now, so I'll just wait and see who the pick is so I can stop stressing.
All right. Well, I'll go back to you once we get the pick made on our end right here. I think your stream's a little bit ahead of ours. But yeah, you do mention, Carr. And we also obviously discussed earlier that the Hawks made are pretty deep in regards to the wing department. I think on my stream, yep, here comes Silver. And then we're going right back to you, Noah.
With the 23rd pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Zuby Ejiofor.
Oh, Ejiofor. Okay. How you feel about that, Noah?
I like
another
that a lot.
Onyeka.
I mean, okay, I don't love the undersized tweener, but like really like him as a player. And I think, gosh, I don't know, fit wise, I think it's interesting. I think I have to process a little more, but I did really like him as a prospect to go in this range or maybe a little bit earlier. I know that he does have a lot of fans and analysts that would have him going even earlier than this. So good value. I think well-rounded producer.
Yeah. I would
Interested
say
to
so
see how he fits
for
in.
9-cat especially. Like I've seen someone say, like comparison-wise, he's going to end up somewhere in the middle of Onyeka, Kongwu, and Precious Achua. And it's like, well, I would say if you end up in the middle of that, you're probably worth at least like a 20s pick here. And I think the 9-cat skill set is something that is probably the most intriguing to us. He'll likely go in the 20s in real life. Brian,
New York is getting this pick.
They just got Zuby?
Yep. Wait, sorry, my bad. Sorry, I misread. New York is trading 24 to the Lakers for 25.
Oh, the Lakers are moving up a spot.
Moving up for a big.
Are you getting Cameron Carr? Please.
You're getting Carr or Terrace Reed, I guess.
Oh, please be Carr.
It's probably gonna be like Terrace Reed, right? I mean,
yeah, could be Sanak actually. He is still on the board. Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually okay with Sanak. I'm okay with the idea of it for sure. The front court is definitely still a need of ours. I do not hate at all Cameron Carr because you need wings and shooting around Luka. So obviously that's a good fit. And I do strongly believe he is best player available. So moving up one spot, I'm assuming we just did, we gave New York a second round pick or something like that to move back to 25. It's not like New York has the room for Cameron Carr anyways. They got plenty of wings. So if this is the Lakers on the clock, which yes, it looks like it is. Yep, it is. That is really something I hope we do. I would be absolutely ecstatic about Cameron Carr. And I would think for Dynasty, that would maybe justify how a lot of people have him higher in Dynasty big boards than they do in real life, because he's likely, at least initially upon what our thoughts were, he would likely go to a more winning team and needs his services right away. And I think the Lakers would need him right away. Brian, do you have anything to add? Or is there any updates on the trade?
It sounds like they're just swapping picks because Knicks want to save money.
Oh, that's it? Okay.
Oh,
that's it.
What is the difference? Like a mil? Like
100K.
I'll look it up real quick. 100K.
Goodness gracious!
Dolan really being that cheap?
It looks like. I mean, they did re-sign Mo Diawara yesterday, but I mean, his deal was very.
Couldn't even get like
I would
a
say.
future second. Like
That's what I thought. I thought they just
It
tossed
looks
him
like
a.
it's a straight swap that Knicks want to save money and the Lakers are like, sure, I guess.
Not,
Sure, we'll take it.
not even like cash considerations. I don't understand.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I mean,
Like
their cash
the-
considerations is saving 100K on the cap, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah.
Just Dolan? Like, what? What?
Like are they
mean, unless
directly
there's more
on like the
stuff coming
second
out.
apron line and needed to cut
I mean,
100K
it
or
just-
something like
It
that?
looks like it's just a straight swap.
Huh.
Jeez.
Nice, Lakers. You get to move up a
Okay.
spot.
I'll take
What
it.
a gift. Yeah.
We will take it. All right. So then, Lakers fan perspective, Cameron Carr would be my top pick here. We would love to have a new wing. I mean, you guys mentioned Taurus Reed. I would definitely have Chris Sanak over him, or preferably for sure. Like if we take Sanak, it is kind of more of like a project, but he was like a really highly touted recruit, and maybe he didn't have the best first year that we want to see at Houston, but at least in regards to like toolsiness, upside, Sanak's kind of one of the higher end possible outcomes of what's remaining here. He's one of the few remaining fresh toolsy freshmen that are still on the board. The other freshmen on the board, like Malik Thomas, is mostly just like a shooter, which I think shooters still go in the first round. It's definitely possible, but I think I would go between Sanak or most preferably Cameron Carr for this one. So thank you, James Dolan. We got to move up for the sake of like I don't know. Like I tried to mention this. Like I don't know if they were like directly at the luxury tax line and this kept them under it, like the second apron line or something like that, or if they're just looking at something in the future that this impacts. I don't know, but we will take it. We will definitely take it. Have you guys ever seen a trade like that before?
Oh, this is like the first time ever. Something like
Yeah.
this?
First I can recall.
It's just the aprons, I guess. Like, and I think getting to a certain point with the first rounds, the back end of the first rounds getting a little iffy. I do wonder if we maybe see more of that down the line, where teams are just like, "Do you want it?" Because we don't want.
Like, do we potentially see New York move back again from 25? Like,
what if they just
move
keep
back
doing
to
it?
like 35? Right. Like, this keep
25
Yeah.
to 26, 26 to 27, 27, like just like every single one.
these teams move up.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll hit a sweet spot of like 35 or something like that.
Maybe they're just like, we have two guys on our board. We don't care which one we get. We might as well save a bit of money. I mean,
That is nuts.
this is something.
Here we go. Let's see. 24.
Here we go.
With the 24th pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the New York Knicks select Cameron Carr.
Let's go.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes! Let's go.
Wow.
I never would have guessed in a million years the Lakers would have Cameron Carr. Let's go.
Wow.
6'6" wings, 7-foot wingspan, can shoot, and he's going to play alongside Luka Doncic. Lakers fans, excellent fit. Excellent fit. Luka needs wings. Luka needs shooters. Luka needs defenders. Boys, I am ecstatic right now. Absolutely ecstatic. I think he's going to play. I really do. I hope it's not an Adu Thiero repeat. I really hope so, because theoretically, he is also, athletic wing, someone who should go along well with Luka as well, and didn't get a ton of minutes last year, which was very, very frustrating to me.
The Knicks got cash considerations, so they
end up getting cash out of this. Okay. So they saved money and got some money. I mean, if you're the Lakers, obviously you do it. I mean, you don't want to risk the Knicks giving that deal to somebody else and then someone else swoops in and takes Cameron Carr, because what are we going to do instead? Kristen Acker, we got to wait on him. Like, Carr represents to me the most, plug and play option, at least on this board right now, to complement Luka. Let's go to you, Brian. How do you feel about Carr and Dynasty?
I think this is really good. I don't think the defense is going to be nearly as good as what the stocks would indicate right now. I think it could get there, but I think it needs to fill out more if it'll actually be possible. What I will say is the other rumor name for the Lakers was Isaiah Evans. And so I think it was probably just, Cameron Carr's available. Let's just not overthink this. And so I think, that's great. But he might play. Yeah, I think he might be just a regular season player, because that frame is going to get hunted like crazy. But the wingspan, I think theoretically it'll work amazing if he can fill out. And that's the bet. If he can fill out, then this is like a rock solid starter. If he just he can't fill out, then maybe it's more like Isaiah Joe or worse than that. So, but I think even then, Isaiah Joe was pretty good with the ball in his hands at Arkansas and was able to dunk. With Carr, there's a bit of that too, to be fair, but we'll just see. I think at the end of the day, he probably is a rotation player and he probably is an NBA player. I just wouldn't go as high as what the fantasy skill set would indicate, considering the circumstances of the fact that he is super skinny and was basically playing center for Baylor. So,
yeah, I mean, he is definitely a versatile player if he was, occupying that role at times for Baylor. And it is definitely notable the very slight frame. Now I know he has been putting on a little bit of weight gradually, but obviously this isn't one of those scenarios where, we obviously see an off-season tape and he looks like he's filled out, 15 pounds of muscle or something along those lines. Noah, how are you feeling on Cameron Carr right now?
Yeah, I think the point about him being a better fantasy option than real life option definitely holds true here, but just fits well there next to Luka in the sense you have a athletic 3-and-D guy. Yeah, I mean, I think frankly, there was a lot of combine hype, which had him mocked towards the lottery, and it probably never really made that much sense. But I mean, also a good value pick here for the Lakers. So Should be good.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about this one. I think the landing spot, like for you, Braxton, I know you like these players when they go to teams that, at least for all indications, seem like that they are going to play them right away. How do you feel about a guy who has kind of like a 3-and-D stat set like this in this context? Playing alongside Luka, hopefully Austin Reeves moving forward too, maybe LeBron James. Do you think it's going to just be some threes and steals, or do you think they'll be at least viable enough to be rosterable in some deep leagues? You are muted, Braxton.
Thank you. Weirdly, whoever the Lakers pick, I always feel like it's going to be fantasy relevant, even when it's late in the first round. They're usually picking late in the first round, right? I will admit I kind of bought into the Adu Thiero hype a little bit last year, just based on the Lakers. They're going to play their role players. There's just like, to me, there's just like this, I don't know, sense that they know what they're doing, I guess. I don't know. I can't explain it. But yeah, I think there's definitely some fantasy viability here with Carr. Obviously picking this late in a rookie draft, there's not really going to be any can't miss prospects. Talked a little bit about this earlier with Jaden Quaintance, right? And taking a guy like Cameron Carr on a team that has a role for him, like the Lakers, makes a ton of sense, especially with his fantasy-friendly upside. He seems like, we saw Nick Smith Jr. play at times quite frequently for the Lakers last year. And if he's able, I would assume he's able to, at minimum, come in and just absorb all of those minutes. And then he could play himself into a larger role based on that. And I can't stress enough, Nick Smith Jr. is not good. And the fact that he played to the level as much as he did last year for the Lakers, and the Lakers still being a playoff team, was very surprising to me. I think there definitely is some fantasy viability here. And I think you could see him get, there could be, sorry, my dog just distracted me. You could see some people reach for him in rookie drafts because of the landing spot.
Yeah. And one thing I will point out is this is the first Lakers pick made with Andrew Friedman involved. He's not the direct president of operations, but he's involved in the front office now. This is the architect for the current Dodgers roster for you baseball fans out there, for one of the best rosters in baseball and also one of the best farm systems in baseball too. The Dodgers are extremely good at picking and developing talent. So some of that front office has been absorbed into what the Lakers are doing moving forward. And so Carr represents the first pick made under that, at least I'll just call it influence of leadership, because no one's directly replaced Rob Pelinka or anything along those lines, but they are now in the building providing advice for how this Lakers team should be run. And we've had other NBA teams, actually, this happened about a year or two ago. We had the Cavaliers front office visit the Dodgers spring training facility just to learn more about how they operate just as a franchise in general. That happened, I think it was either last year or the year prior to that. So cool to see that happen. Some translations between front offices there. So this is, again, the first Andrew Friedman Lakers draft pick. So now we still have the Knicks apparently on the clock, unless Noah Wojnarowski has any more updates for us on potential trades. But no, James Dolan decided to move back. Noah's shaking his head, so we have no other trade updates at this time. And apparently the pick is in for the Knicks at 25. These are our defending champions, apparently tight on cap space as far from what we've learned. And I think Adam Silver is coming out. Yep, here he comes. Who are the Knicks getting? Of course.
As part of deals to be finalized later, the Oklahoma City Thunder are acquiring the draft rights to Bennett Sturts, the 16th pick. The Detroit Pistons are acquiring the draft rights to Ibuka Okori, the 17th.
We know this.
And the Memphis Grizzlies are acquiring the draft rights to Kareem.
They gotta fix the trade system. I mean, how many people have been saying this for like what, 5 years, 6 years?
Right. Here we go.
26th NBA draft. The Los Angeles Lakers select Sergio De La Rey.
Wow. Okay. After what the Knicks just did, Brian, you're doing the money sign. Is this a draft and stash to save money?
Yeah. Sergio's been open about saying that he is willing to stay an extra year in Spain. So I'm guessing this is what it is.
This has to be what this is. This is our Juan Nunez from a couple of years ago, huh? I mean,
yeah. Even then, I think Sergio's like Sergio is like one of the best players on one of the best teams in Europe. Just straight up, like this is great. Like,
Well,
I'm totally on.
I'll say, I mean, that in itself isn't necessarily going to hasn't in recent years directly translated to the NBA. You look at Vasil Micic and Alexander Vezinkov, who both were supposed to come in and play huge roles and be these. Let me back up a little bit. They're supposed to be really solid from a real life perspective, right? Being these huge players in Europe, and they come in. And Juan Nunez is a great example as well. And there's nothing to be found. I think all three of those guys are completely out of the league now, right? So, not to, knock Sergio De La Rey specifically, but I'm just saying, I think a draft and stash at 125. I mean, have we seen in recent years a higher draft and stash than that?
I think wasn't Balmero kind of in this range, and he was drafting stash for like a year or two. Leandro
Yeah, that one
Balmero
paid off as well, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm much more in on Sergio than I ever was on Leandro Balmero. So
Okay.
yeah, I feel much better. Like Balmero was way more theoretical. Sergio is like he's got limitations, but he knows where to be on defense. He's super smart. He can really pass. He can shoot. Like to me, this is like a rock solid. Like almost like Ben Saraf was supposed to be, but like actually can shoot. Like or even almost like dare I say like Bogdan Bogdanovich a little bit. Like
Okay.
I think except with like a little bit less scoring. Like I think this is just a really smart pick, a smart player. I think he can play the 2 and the 3. I just will say that he did seem a bit more disengaged when he didn't have the ball, so I do wonder about that a little bit. But at the end of the day, I like this one.
Zach, where are you at on the Spaniard, even if he decides to stay overseas for another year or so?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Dynasty League wise, I think if we are talking about guys that you are going to stash and probably see hang overseas for like a year, maybe 2 years, I mean, this is pretty easily like the most valuable, like any of those guys by like a pretty wide margin. And I think it just really comes down to, the fantasy skill set could be really strong for Sergio. Like Brian was just saying, I mean, he is a very like crafty player. He has positional size advantage. He's a very smart player. He's not most athletic, but he makes up for that with the craftiness. I like guys like that. I'm always a sucker for guards with big size like this. I really like jumbo creators and stuff like that. So I like it still. I certainly you can get him for much less than he was drafted at, for sure. I don't know exactly how high I feel comfortable drafting a stash, just kind of in general. But certainly if you're a rebuilder, I think you can justify it and certainly get him lower than this position of which he was drafted. But I do like him. I think he's a very good prospect. If he is stashed even for like a year or two, definitely somebody I'd advise rebuilders to look at and kind of kick the tires on. Again, I'm not totally sure exactly where I feel comfortable taking him at, but drafting him, I do feel comfortable still taking him.
All right.
Jake Fisher tweeted that the Knicks don't expect him to come to the NBA this season. So
money.
Good call.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So we're waiting a bit for the Nuggets to make their pick at 26. And I want to kind of reward our live viewers who are still with us this late in the draft with some really good dynasty advice that I heard today. And it has to do with a recent NCAA rule change. Brian, you want to fill us in on what happened and what kind of implications that has for us dynasty players moving forward?
Yeah, so this is a pretty important one here. It's expected to be finalized tomorrow, but the NCAA is expected to allow everyone to hit 5 years of eligibility and probably get rid of the redshirt rule. We'll see, but 5 years seems to be the expectation. So for next year's second round picks, I would be trading them for whatever you can get, like literally whatever you can get. Like even if it's like some player that might not even be in the NBA next year, like I think that's where we're at. It's most of the second round is going to be bad, and it's already looking like pretty iffy this year. It's going to get worse next year. We might be looking at borderline like starters in college next year. Like, I don't know. It looks pretty bad. So I would just say that to say that I would be very focused on trading your 2027 picks, like period, to try and move back into 2026 and get someone secure. I wouldn't worry about stockpiling those picks as best you can. And I think there's gonna be, because we're having the highs of 2025 and 2026 right now with the draft classes. I would be capitalizing on it now, especially on players that may not be as informed about the 2027 class. But again, it's gonna be tough. Like I don't even like I can't even like think of a top 60 right now if that when that rule comes into effect, because I don't even know who's gonna be in it. Like it's gonna be rough. So I would just say go all in on this draft with your next picks, and you will walk out happier. Based with the caliber of process that you're getting.
So if I have
Okay.
5 firsts in 2027 in a league, I should just go ahead and leave that league.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You got some work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, time to start over.
You got some real work to do. I'm sorry.
I mean, I've seen this example happen a couple of times. Actually, just today in the Angle Dynasty League, Mitchell traded his own 2027 first round pick for Hugo Gonzalez. So no protections on it or anything. He got out of that draft for Hugo. I feel like with that news, that's a huge win because Mitch is the defending
That's a
champ.
home run.
He was going to be a late first pick anyways. You know,
Yeah, that's
so
insane.
yeah, so he got Hugo for that pick, and I know for myself, I had the choice of that. I traded into the 2025 draft last year and had the choice of keeping my own 2026 or 2027 pick. This is also in the Angle League, and I chose to keep my 2026 pick and hand over 2027 instead. So in hindsight now, obviously we had no idea that this change was going to happen at the time. This was well into last year, but hindsight now is looking pretty good. But that Hugo trade just happened today, so shout out to you, Mitch. That is, I mean, I know he was trying to get out in front of a Jaylen Brown trade. That was the main reason why he did it. Because he thinks Hugo's role will increase since they're not willing to include Hugo in a Jaylen Brown trade. But now we have this news that maybe our back end of the first round and a lot of the second round next year is going to be quite weak. And I think Adam Silver is here for 26.
The Denver Nuggets select Terrace Reed Jr.
Yeah.
Wow.
University of Connecticut.
Wow. Brian,
Wow.
you seem to be enthusiastic about this one. How do you feel about Terrace Reed dynasty value now that he is a Denver Nugget?
Hey, real quick.
Oh, great.
He's not a Denver
Woj
Nugget.
is speaking.
He's a San Antonio Spur.
Whoa!
What?
Pick 35 and 2 future seconds for pick 26.
What?
They really don't like Luke Cornett. My goodness.
Wow.
So collect yourself, Brian. I still want to hear your thoughts.
That's still a home
They're
run pick. I dislike it a lot more now for the dynasty, but I mean, I had Terrace Reed at 20. Like I like him quite a bit in terms of a prospect. Really good passer. Really good size. Can move really well for his size. Obviously can be coachable. Like from where he was at Michigan to where he is now at UConn, like there's some real improvement. Seems like a great person to be around. Just a different type of big than what Quaintance is. Like Reed's a lot more skilled. Quaintance is a lot more athletic. Different from Wembanyama. I think they could play together on some level. Like, yeah, this is a pretty solid pick. I think there's a real shot Terrace Reed ends up being quite a bit better than Jay Quaintance when it's all said and done with the injuries. But at the end of the day, like, solid. And for Denver, like, I mean, you got out of a first-round guaranteed contract, even though that would have been really nice in Denver.
No, I think they had a pretty glaring need for a backup center. So quite honestly surprised to see that. I mean, maybe they'll get someone decent at 35. I'm trying to remember some other centers in that range off the top of my head, but you know, I mean, obviously there was like, okay, the instances of Wembanyama being out-muscled by like a Mitchell Robinson last year. Terrace Reed is a ball of muscle. Like, so that helps. You have your brick wall screen setter now is here in San Antonio in the form of Terrace Reed. I can't remember. I don't think he and Castle played together or not. I can't remember if they did. I don't think they did though, but very, very wild to see that happen. San Antonio walking away with two big men from this draft. Zach, how do you feel about Reed?
What a wild pick. Geez, took two centers like that. I really like Reed though. I mean, I think just like you said, you know, adds the muscle. This is exactly what they need. They need more muscle there. Like Brian said, I really would not be surprised if Terrace Reed ends up being better than Jaden Quaintance. Certainly interesting. I don't really know if I mean, look, I'm presuming with this pick, that probably means that Quaintance is probably just going to be on ice for the year. Which again, that's totally fine. But there's nothing wrong with that. They certainly have the pool of assets and something to kind of just keep that rolling. But yeah, I am a little just curious how that ends up working for them having those two centers. I mean, they're both really good. I mean, they're both really good talents, especially Quaintance when healthy. Yeah, that's very interesting. That certainly hurts both of them in some of my rankings. I mean, you can scratch a little bit of what I said about Quaintance earlier. Still worth some of the risk potentially if you want to swing on it, but yeah, that certainly muddles things up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit. No, do you have any kind of similar sentiment here on Terrace Reed? Would you have probably preferred that Denver landing spot?
I think, yeah, without Quaintance in the mix, but like both teams needed to figure out a backup center. I definitely agree that it's like Quaintance is going to get at least one red shirt year, if not more. And this feels like less of a dart throw than Quaintance. Maybe not quite as much upside, but like we saw him have be really good, and we already know he can be that. And yeah, I think it's very clear that the Spurs were not satisfied with their center play in the NBA Finals. So they're like, yep, we're going to do everything we can to figure this out. Reed can pass as well. Like he can do a little bit on offense, like can't space the floor, but he can pass, rebound, things like that. Don't really care for it from a fantasy perspective, but I think it makes sense for the Spurs.
Very good. Very good. So definitely looking to shake things up from their backup center, which formerly was Luke Cornett. We now have Boston on the board. So we're rolling into our last four picks here, fellas, 27, 28, 29, and 30. We still got Zach's Cavaliers coming up soon at 29. And then we have 28, which was involved in the Julius Randle salary dump. They moved back like 6 or 5 spots, something along those lines, in order to dump Julius Randle. So that pick is going to be made by the Nets. Very curious to see what Boston does here. Maybe they might go with Sinak. I feel like a lot of people would have loved to see Terrace Reed in Boston, so some Boston fans are probably a little upset to see their guy go one pick prior to them. Silver should be coming out any moment. Yep, here he comes. What's going down in Boston?
With the 27th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Chris Sinak Jr.
Chris Sinak.
Wow.
All right. Like I mentioned, one of the probably like toolsy high upside freshmen that's remaining at this range. I think a lot of other guys at this range are going to be upperclassmen. Braxton, the center rotation in Boston, is there room, or let's just say the big man rotation in Boston, is there room for another, power forward center combo? Because this Sinak's not like a true, 7'4" like a is. He's 6'11", but maybe someone where if it all goes according to plan, he could be like a poor man's Evan Mobley. That's obviously a very sky high expectation. There could be a bit of a crash and burn here, but just what do you see, at least outlook wise, fitting in Boston on that front court? We got Keita there, we got Vucevic. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Keita breakout, and then even after Vucevic came over in the deadline, we saw Keita outplay him at numerous points. Luka Garza was getting quite a bit of run in the beginning of the year, and then even later in the year, too, as they looked on some nights to run a 3-man center rotation. And the way that I kind of try to look at landing spots when it comes to like these later picks is who would they essentially be replacing, right? And for me in Boston, that's going to be Luka Garza. I think there is a role here for Sinak to just kind of in year one take those minutes from Luka Garza, just absorb those minutes that Luka Garza would have been having. I don't necessarily off the top of my head remember Garza's contract status going into next year, whether or not he's on the team. But just based on the fact
he's
that
on a minimum.
He's on a minimum deal next year. The reports were that they were super high on Garza going into the year, and he had the potential to play himself into a huge role, similar to how Keita did. They both kind of equally got that opportunity, and Garza was the one that just wasn't really able to show out. And we kind of knew that from him, right? He had some shortcomings that were he wasn't really able to improve on. So how this relates to Sinak is that's where I think that role is going to come from. As Vucevic kind of declines, I think Keita might be their center for the next few years. And Vucevic, as Vuce continues to continue on that downward trajectory as far as his playability. He's not super playable on defense anyway. I think we see Sinak try to grab some of those minutes, and then he can even maybe play next to somebody like Vucevic or Keita, depending on how that shooting fares in the NBA. So I think there's definitely some room for him here, and I always like players like this going to good teams that have a spot for them, right? I think that's huge. Even if the upside isn't there, this is totally a floor play for me, and I think that rings true with the landing spot here.
Noah, how do you feel about Chris Sinak and Dynasty?
So I wasn't a huge fan. Mostly just like it's like the idea of what he could be just wasn't what he was. Like,
yeah.
Frankly, it's the lack of blocks that was like a little bit concerning for a guy that's as big and athletic as he is. But this landing spot is definitely an encouraging one to me because, like, I believe Vucevic is a free agent, but like Keita's the guy right now. RIP Amari Williams stock that I had, but like I guess that wasn't really like a sure bet anyway. But so I probably won't play. Like, he might get a role, but like I imagine like this is more like a developmental play for Boston. Like, he'll have time to figure things out. Like, he wasn't very productive last year, despite the idea of him being encouraging. So like, yeah, just kind of a red shirt-ish year for him, I'd imagine, unless he just develops at a trajectory that probably you can't project at this point. But a lot of tools to like, specifically as a potential perimeter shooter at almost 7 feet tall and that athletic. But I don't know how much of an impact he makes for the Celtics next year.
All right. So, guys, for those of you still watching, we are approaching our last 3 days here. So, if you got any other questions for us, make sure to fire them away while we're all here together. We will be sure to answer them. Zach, where are you at on Sinak before we start focusing in on this soon-to-be Brooklyn pick?
Yeah, so I think especially after last year with Hugo Gonzalez, I like to. I'm kind of feeling like I like to target guys that the Celtics like to target. Certainly, this is a long con for them. This is a guy that they're going to be developing this year. Sinak's going to need some time. I mean, there's no other way to cut it. He's going to need a good bit of time. And I think Boston is really like one of the teams that is going to be one of the most, I think, encouraging for his outcomes. He's got pretty low feel, but I think like this is definitely like an organization that can help him develop that. I think the role is certainly there. The center position, I mean, they certainly are going to need somebody more for like the long term, especially if they're not going to be able to afford Keita, which I mean is entirely possible whenever he is a free agent next summer. So I really like the move personally. I will just preface though, and I know Brian wrote about this up and down in his scouting report on Sinak, but you're going to need to be patient. If you are somebody who is kind of reactionary, doesn't like to wait, like this is not the guy for you. This is a really low floor guy. Like, and this could be a risk that like, if you take him, he may just never become much of anything potentially. He's just one of those guys. You have to know kind of like what you're getting into. I think more than almost anybody else in this first round, you have to know what you're getting into with Sinak. But that being said, though, I mean, like the Boston thing is certainly encouraging. So yeah, he ended up being, I want to say 23rd on my most recent fantasy board. He'll probably, I guess, hover around that range with, again, the preface that, you know, you have to kind of know what you're getting into. It's more of a specific if you can hold him and wait on him. So, but I do like it though. I do.
Yeah, and what I will say is that he survived Kelvin Sampson, so now he's going to go to Joe Mazzulla. So
Yeah.
one of the big caveats for Sinak was, I wish he stayed another year for Kelvin Sampson because I wanted the hard coaching for him. Well, he got it with Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah.
What I will say is that he's nowhere near level ready to play NBA minutes. His decision making is not nowhere near as good as it needs to be right now. Maybe he gets there in time, but I've always kind of viewed him as like a second team guy, and this is probably one personally I will just not draft unless it like comes down to like the 35 to 40 range, just because this to me just screams like not going to play as a rookie, probably not going to play as a sophomore. We saw it with Jordan Walsh, a bit better Sharman as well. Like I don't know. Like I like the idea, and I think he'll be great with Mazzulla in time. It just might take a while, and if it does work, this will be someone I'm just trying to get
28. Sorry about that.
In a year or two.
Joshua Jefferson from
Oh,
Jefferson.
all right.
That's
Finish
going
that
to
up, Brian,
Brooklyn.
and then we'll move into Jefferson. I'm surprised he ended up going in the first round.
I was expecting to go to Boston, honestly. But
Yeah, same.
as for Brooklyn, I mean that screams what they like, right? We saw it with Danny Wolf, we saw it with Yegor Dioman, we saw it with Nolan Traore. They want a young Hansen. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like this is just screams Brooklyn. And honestly, I like it. Like, I think he can make quick decisions. He's got good size. He's super smart. Some potential defensively. It wouldn't stop him if he's in rotation early on, honestly. But at the end of the day, this is like a backup wing, and at the end of the day, I think coaches are really gonna like him. I think Jordan will be able to utilize him pretty well. Overall, I think for Jefferson's like fantasy stock, I really like it.
Yeah, so Braxton, this is another one of these guys that you are likely going to be interested in. Jumbo wing, a little bit of everything, pass, dribble, shoot. Probably one of the better like playmaking, big-sized wings coming out of this draft class, but he is one of the older players coming out of this draft class, which is likely why he fell down to this range. There are some people out there that are fairly high on what he can bring to a team moving forward, but like Brian said, nailed it. This is such a Nets pick. They are basically going for playmaking at every single position that you could possibly imagine. So Jefferson is for sure capable of doing that too. In your opinion, Braxton, how do you feel about Brooklyn adding another guy who, needs a little bit of the ball in his hands, but is actually still a smart player, can make, some passes, can probably theoretically do a little bit of everything, but kind of have a lot of that in Brooklyn. So how do you feel about someone going there?
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, I just want to finish a quick thought on Sanak. And I think it seems like I'm a little bit potentially more excited about him than you guys are. I think a lot of that comes from him being in Boston specifically and seeing what Boston has done with guys like Shireman, Jordan Walsh, and Jordan. What is the third one?
Hugo.
Thank you,
Hugo.
College. Turning these late first round picks into potentially fantasy viable players within 1 or 2 years. So that's kind of where I'm coming from that perspective. But for Joshua Jefferson specifically, they've been trying to fill this backup wing role for 3 years now with Derek Whitehead. We saw Drake Powell last year in the early 20s. Has not really panned out for them. Jalen Wilson, who they did take later in the draft, but Zaire Williams, really trying to find who their guy is going to be. Seems like they really haven't landed on anybody specific yet. They've all kind of been okay at points, with the exception of Whitehead, and then bad at other points, right? I love, and Andrew, you mentioned the comparison to Najee Marshall again. I mean, you know the right words to make me excited about a player. And I think with Brooklyn, there's so much opportunity there. We saw this a little bit last year with the 4 first-round picks, where it's okay, any one of these guys could pop off. There was times leading up to the season, there was people were down on Drake Powell, and then they were up on Drake Powell. Just as an example, right? So to me, this seems like as we get closer to the season and this Nets roster continues to kind of take shape, okay, maybe there could be somewhat of a role here for Joshua Jefferson. And then if they are terrible, right, maybe later in the season he gets some decent run. We saw Josh Minot get some minutes for that Brooklyn team. We saw is it Chaney Johnson or Chauncey Johnson? I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it is, but we saw Chancey Johnson. See, I got neither one of them. We saw Chancey Johnson get a ton of minutes for Brooklyn down the stretch, right? So there are some minutes to be had on this Nets team. And if he's able to, I think it's really, truly, if he's able to stand out in the opportunity they give him, there could be potential for more minutes. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter level player, but while he's on this to me screams like a guy, as long as he's on a bad team, could have legitimate fantasy viability in dynasty leagues.
I got 2 notes. First, Jaden Quaintance, I guess we're interviewing him, and he said that he's facing another surgery to clean up his meniscus. Asked if he expects to be ready for training camp. I'm not sure yet. So yeah, it definitely seems like a redshirt year. Second note, the Kings just traded for pick 29. So
were you expecting that, Zach?
Yeah, I was kind of anticipating a trade down. I think it's Cleveland, I think there's not like a super clear need. I know a lot of people have kind of pegged them as sort of adding like big man depth, which I think could help. But a lot of what I've been hoping for is just kind of like trading down either for multiple seconds in this draft, trading for multiple seconds in the future. Just kind of preparing, just kind of stocking up on assets is where I'm at.
So it's 34 and a future second.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you guys move back 5 spots.
Yeah.
Totally reasonable.
I was about to ask you who you wanted the Cavaliers to get, but at least we won't be. We're just doing the first round today. We won't be out live for the second round tomorrow. But for you, Zach, I will still at least pose the question to you: what is a need that Cleveland has, or perhaps a player you really hope they get? Because at 35, plenty of the guys that are on the board right now are likely still going to be in consideration for you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely some good options for sure. I know a couple names that I had circled that I liked. Really, I either like a big man depth I think would be helpful. Adding another never hurts to add. Or potentially if there is an outcome for which Cleveland decides to go into like a rebuild of some sort, having just kind of the best player, somebody you kind of I like him. If they wanted someone who can play now, like I like Ryan Conwell a lot. Henry Vasar is one of the more ideal bigs. Isaiah Evans is still available. I think he is interesting. Even Rich, I think that could totally be like a guy that they would want to take if they want to win now. And then throw out a dark horse name. I really like Aaron Nkrumah out of Tennessee State. Really good wing. I really like him a
lot. There's another trade.
Okay.
For pick 30, apparently the Suns are trading for pick 30.
I like the Suns. I like the Suns as a dynasty destination.
Brian, you seemed way too excited about a last pick of the first round trade.
Here we go.
Who? Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's a trade announcement first. For the Kings, let's wait for him to announce the trade that we already know about. And then we will be turning it up for this 29th pick to the Kings.
29th pick in 2026 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Alex Caravan from the University of
The Kings get Alex Caravan.
I knew it. Oh my gosh.
My guess when I was on a recent podcast was he's going to be the most kind of prioritized guy for day 2. But I obviously wouldn't rule out the possibility of someone undercutting everybody else, in those 30 picks and grabbing him at whether it be 29 or 30. So, I mean, us here at Angle, Mitchell and I are both high on Caravan. High in the sense of as high as you could be on a 24-year-old without star level upside. We think he's a great just plug and play option. Will likely get minutes. I don't really know how much of an impact he's going to have on the box sheet or on the box score, but just, a really smart player who I find it hard to believe that there won't be a coach out there that'll really, really like him. I am surprised to see the Kings take him in this spot. I think you and Brian, you and Zach were just mentioning as someone you expect to go at 29. Did you think maybe the Cavs were the pick or?
No. So we expected the Kings, this isn't based off intel. This is just we think Caravan makes a ton of sense for the Kings.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting him to go for 29 to get him. I was just expecting him at 34 or whatever. But hey,
yeah.
Honestly, at this point, he fits a need. I think he's super smart, and he's been a draft prospect for legitimately 4 years at this point. So, Yes, he's older. Yes, I get it. But I would have drafted him first round in 2024 and was basically top 35 in 2025 for me before he went back. So, you know what?
Agreed.
Totally fine.
Serial winner, 2-time national champion, 38% from 3 on over 600 career NCAA attempts. So we obviously have a very high volume to work with here. And, I really don't hate it at this point. You got to budge in on everybody on day 2 and grab Caravan at 29. I mean, who are you really missing out on in this point? The super high ceiling guys are gone. Are guys out there like Evans or maybe Jack Cayley? I can see, maybe some upside potential plays with those guys, but you really can't go wrong with Caravan, in my opinion. And Brax, this is going to be another guy that you like. Guy who's going to get minutes, hopefully just be a reliable player. And this is one of those guys where in deep leagues, 30-team leagues, it gets to the point depth-wise where you can't really it's no longer about statistical production or like whatever punt it is that you're doing, like overall 9-cat fit. It's more just about minutes. Are they on the floor doing anything? Because when you get to the tail end of your roster in, let's say, a 30-team league, you might have a guy who's actually on a 2-way contract and not really doing anything for you or something along those lines. So once we're getting towards that range, these second rounders, it's really about guys who get minutes. And I think that is something that's going to happen for Caravan. Apparently the pick is in for pick 30. Oh, we're getting through pick 30 quick.
With the 30th pick, the 2026 NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Koa Pete from the University of
Keep
Arizona.
him home.
So that's Phoenix at 30, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That's Phoenix at 30.
That sounds like Phoenix. Keep him in Arizona. Went to high school in Arizona.
Oh,
Well,
really? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I knew he played there, but I didn't know he's went to high school in Arizona too. I mean, that's cool that they got their hometown guy, but it's like, I know Mitchell and I, so us here at Angle for our big board, not the highest on Koa Pete. Mitchell famously coined him as Rui Hachimura without a jump shot. Is anybody in here like Koa Pete? Anybody, any objections to that comparison? Or
I think I like him a little bit more than that, but like not a huge Koa Pete fan. But I feel like he can do a little bit more than Rui Hachimura without a jump shot, because I feel like that's like not much there.
That's not an NBA player, but
Right.
like Koa Pete can dunk. Like, I don't know. Like Koa Pete's like way more skilled than he got to show at Arizona, and that's why I'm like, I could see a world where this works, and he's got super physical and hometown kid, plays defense. One of the most winningest players along with Cam Boozer. Like, honestly, like I had Koa Pete at 32. I think this is fine. And for Phoenix, I think this makes a lot of sense. So you know what? This could really work. This also could just be clutch. But at the end of the day, I think I'm cool with it. Like, they got smart enough people there to where, like, I think if Koa doesn't do the same role, like, I think he'll have an impact. And he could play in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure, just because of the size and physicality. I just don't think he can shoot.
Yep.
So for like 10 minutes a night, could he play in the playoffs? I think he could do that. And he's one of the few players in this draft, especially later on, where I'm like, I think he can do it now. Just because he's basically a football player.
I would say they'd rather see him be a tight end. Yeah.
I wanted to ask how you guys think this affects or alters your assessment of Rasheer Fleming and his viability next season. There's some people, I am not one of them, who are extremely high on Rasheer Fleming moving forward for this Suns team. I think, in my opinion, as long as Royce O'Neal is in town, that he's not someone that is going to be on the floor much. But it's not like the Suns have invested a ton into Fleming in terms of draft capital themselves, right? So does this Pete pick at 130 affect that at all for you guys?
Maybe, but like I feel like they're different players. Like Rasheer's a lot more of like a super athletic, like he's more like lanky, I guess. But they play similar-ish. I guess they do play similar-ish roles. I don't know. But Fleming, I think, has more potential to shoot.
Yeah. That'd be my thing.
Thought.
I guess the question is not necessarily in terms of the same kind of player, right? But they're probably going to be fighting over the same minutes, right? So, from that perspective, like, I think that kind of sitting in that 4 range, the Suns really have been kind of doing an undersized 4 thing for years now, right? With Royce O'Neal and other names that are escaping me. So I don't know. To me, it seems like, and maybe this is just my Rasheer Fleming hate train coming out, but like, and not that I'm super low on him. I just think that there's a lot of hype on him that hasn't been warranted. And to me, this pick could indicate that maybe they're not viewing him as like some big piece for them moving forward.
I see. Well, boys, go ahead.
He was a second round. He was like a second round pick, so it's like
He's also picked 31.
Right, he's picked 31.
And they gave up like 4 seconds to move up. So
That's
I mean,
true. And they traded up. I don't know. I don't think either is necessarily viewed as like this like monster, like definite part of their future. It's like still trying to figure things out. But even if they are quote unquote fighting for like the same minutes, like their archetype is just very different. Like I think both play defense, but Rasheer Fleming is definitely more perimeter oriented than Koa Pete. So I just think having the option, seeing what works. I don't know if this directly, but it I don't know. We'll see. That's probably the most fair way to put it.
Definitely.
I mean, Cohen can make quick decisions. Fleming isn't like a good decision maker. That's one of the big. I think that's probably the big key difference. But Fleming can shoot, so maybe they can play together. Cohen's stun me.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
wait. So the Knicks traded Sergio to the Mavs for Koa Pete and 2 second-round picks.
Whoa.
And then the
Ooh.
Knicks traded Koa Pete to the Suns for 3 second-rounders in cash. So
Oh wow.
Sergio is now with Dallas.
And the Knicks have
Oh.
I like that a lot more.
And
Nothing.
Koa Pete's still with the Suns, so that doesn't change anything. But the Knicks don't make a first-round pick, get cash, and get 3 second-round picks.
nice.
Freaking James Dolan, man. Well, I mean, we'll revisit Sergio really quickly then. I mean, does our opinion change? Like, is he more likely to come stateside now for Dallas?
I guess so. And honestly, like, it fits with Dusty May. Like, cool.
Yeah,
Cool with
jumbo.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we didn't get any more questions, but we did get a compliment for you, Brian, on your pronunciation earlier of De La Rey and Balmero. So props to you for that one.
Well, considering I do speak Spanish, I can do that.
I cannot,
All
which
right.
is why I just said Sergio, so I apologize.
Yeah.
Mine was not up to standard. I apologize.
All right, boys. We are
We'll go
approaching
on solid.
4 hours. All 30 picks have been named, so we are going to call it here. So first off, for you, all 4 of you in this chat, Braxton, Brian, Zach, Noah, thank you so much for spending this entire first round of today's draft with me. I really appreciate it. And for all of you who have stuck with us throughout today's live stream, we really appreciate you. Thank you for hitting us with your questions. We love to answer them. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you are new, leave a like. This video will obviously be up for anybody else to view after our live recording is done for today. Make sure to follow the Substack for Dizzle Dynasty. We will definitely link that in the description, as well as Zach and Brian's Twitter handles. We will also link Noah's Twitter handle, as well as his work for Roto World. So we'll make sure to get all of that included in the description below. But thank you so much for everybody watching. Guys, thank you so much for joining the stream today. This was an excellent collaboration. I really look forward to doing this again. Look forward to also, we got Summer League coming up. We know what teams these guys are on now. So maybe we'll come back and have another discussion about how these guys are doing in Summer League. Because like for you, Brian and Zach, that's what we did last year in our first podcast collab together. So maybe we will need to revisit that again. But thank you guys so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate that. And sticking throughout the whole first round, almost 4 hours. You guys are absolute troopers. Thank you so much, boys.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, boys. All right. Well, everybody take care. Have a great rest of your night. We will check back with putting out tweets on all of our accounts during the second round tomorrow and expect to see some big boards soon. Thank you so